Good evening. What's up, SOBs and Glass Cannon fans? It's me. My name is Jared Logan, and you are watching Stream of Blood. Tonight, a special Stream of Blood Glass Cannon crossover event. We are playing Blades in the Dark, the incredible tabletop role-playing game by John Harper. I'm really psyched to get into it. First, I have to give my every time I do this spiel, which is please hit the little button on Twitch to follow us, and also follow us on Twitter, Stream of Blood, and follow our Instagram. That's when we let you guys know when we're doing special stuff like this. We have 2 regular games, but all the time we're adding special event games like this one so that we get to play all the games we've really been wanting to play but haven't got around to yet. I'm slowly checking off my 1,000 game list of games that I want to play and get on my stream. So follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and we always let you know when that stuff's going on. And we also have a Facebook group where you can find character sheets. Sometimes we're posting the actual scenarios or stats for the villains or monsters on there. So check out the Facebook group as well. The music you heard when you came in the door there and saw that really beautiful image is the music of, they're called co.ag Music, and the song is called We Cannot Defend You. And the in-game artwork you'll see tonight, used without permission but with absolute appreciation, is by Cedric Pay-Ravernay, Therese Nielsen, Lars Grant West, and Dan Scott. Okay, that's out of the way. We just like to give people credit, you know? Oh, another thing I like to do is I like to say we don't have a Patreon on Stream of Blood, so if you want to show your appreciation, I would like for you to go to joincampaignzero.org, because they are figuring out ways to help navigate the state the country's in right now, and coming up with new solutions for how policing can and should work. So go to joincampaignzero.org and show your appreciation for us by giving them whatever amount of money you can. And let's keep the horror and dark crime adventures in the stream and not out there in the real world, where I wish they didn't happen. All right, I think that's good. I want to say a little bit about Blades in the Dark before we begin. Blades in the Dark, if you're not familiar, because I know we have a lot of people. Hello, everybody from Glass Cannon, by the way, that's come to watch tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We are such a fan of the Glass Cannon Network, and we're a fan of its fans, so thank you for being here. Maybe you're not familiar with this game, so I want to talk about it right now. Blades in the Dark is a steampunk fantasy game about bad people doing bad things in the dark. See how that guy looks like he's about to do bad stuff? He's got a knife. He's got a knife! Watch out! You play a criminal. So tonight our players will be taking the roles of criminals in a crew that operates in the city of Duskfall. Duskfall is an industrial city with trains and steamships. It's sort of a mashup of like Prague, Venice, and London, but it's also a fantasy city. It's also haunted. There are supernatural elements. A cataclysm 1,000 years ago threw open the gates of death, and now weary and vengeful spirits roam the earth, and the cities of the empire that Duskfall belongs to are only protected from these ghosts and twisted horrors of the night by enormous lightning towers that form like lightning barriers around their cities, and also by mining the ghosts for energy, and by actually hunting leviathans in the void sea and draining their blood. They're able to power all kinds of like simple electrical apparatus. So if you've ever played the game Dishonored, it's a lot like that. If you've ever seen the show Peaky Blinders, it's a lot like that. To quote the book exactly, you're in a haunted Victorian-era city trapped inside a wall of lightning powered by demon blood. That's what the game is about. So now you have your overview. If you were already familiar with the game, you know that there are so many really cool and innovative rules in it. For example, there is a faction play mechanic where you can kind of make moves and manipulate the territory and the turf in the city and make moves against the other gangs in your city. There's also all kinds of crew mechanics where your actual team levels up. Unfortunately, a lot of those crew and downtime mechanics are going to be outside the purview of what we do tonight. We're a 2-hour stream, and I thought we would focus on the action. We would focus on the action of Blades in the Dark, which is the score. The score is the heart of Blades in the Dark. It is a daring heist or caper that the criminal crew involves themselves in, and reputations are made or broken on it. So with all of that in mind, why don't we introduce our players and characters? First, I want to introduce my good pal. You can see him every Wednesday night on our Vampires of Pittsburgh, Vampire the Masquerade stream, playing Curtis Krieger, the wounded vet come vampire. He is a phenomenal actor, improviser, who's been seen on such television programs as The Good Place and many others. Please welcome, playing the Cutter class, and we're going to get into his character in a second, Mr. Ross Bryant, everybody. Mr. Ross Bryant. Well, hey, pal.
Hey.
How's it going, man?
It's going great. I'm excited to join you in an evening of dark and eldritch Victorian-inspired mystery.
Yeah, anytime I ask people to do anything, I'm like, do you want to do something with me? It's going to be dark.
Yeah.
I just have that kind of charisma.
Yeah, some dark and twisted stuff. And you better believe twisted is spelled with a numeral 1 and a Z.
Yeah, I put Z's in it. Ross, tell us a little bit about your character. He's a cutter, which means he's a criminal who excels at close-up fighting, getting down and dirty and brutal in the way he approaches his job.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Pretty Marco Coyle. Tell me about him.
That's right. I'm relatively new to this game also, but one of the things that you choose is your heritage, and one of the more mysterious heritages is the Dagger Isles.
Yes.
You kind of have carte blanche to let your imagination take you where you will. So in my head, I kind of thought of this almost as like if Duskval is Londony, maybe the Dagger Isles are Orkneys or Ireland, and so
Yeah.
But if it's cataclysmic out there, then I imagine almost like a British traveler sort of vibe, but like an aquatic traveler.
They call it in the movie Snatch a pikey.
Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah.
that's who Marco Coyle is, who came to Duskwall with a bunch of other travelers from the Dagger Isles on what folks around there might call some shanty boats, and came ashore and made enemies real quickly by getting hired by bad robber barons to break strikes and stuff. And so now he's found himself on the wrong side of the law. But they call him Pretty Marco Coyle because no one's ever landed a punch on him yet. And he's absolutely gorgeous.
Well, let's see if I can completely scar his face tonight in the course of the adventure. I want to destroy something pretty tonight, Ross. I'm going to bring in our next two players. Thank you for being patient and waiting for them. I'm so excited that they're here. You know them. You love them. They are playing a spider character, which is like a mastermind, and a slide, who is like a subtle spy. They together have created millions of hours of primo role-playing content online, and I'm so happy to get to know them. Please welcome Joe O'Brien and Troy Lavallee from The Glass Cannon.
Hey.
Oh, hello.
Well, hi. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Guys, so we were talking before the stream, and all of us are kind of learning this game, right?
Yeah.
We're kind of This is kind of a new game to us, but I think that it's going to be. I think it's going to be really exciting to kind of delve into it tonight. I really love how the mechanics work. Tell me a little bit about your characters. Tell me about Archibald. Yeah, Joe, tell me about Archibald.
Archibald, the jockey gray. Archibald is a spider, which I actually went on Twitter and I was like, should I be sort of an infiltration specialist, which is kind of what I usually play, a roguish sort of character, or the mastermind, which I'm historically bad at in our online games, and planning out and executing this kind of stuff is not my forte. Tactics, no. And so, of course, everybody was like, "You got to be a mastermind," and I was like, "All right, I'm going to do it." And then in the creation of it, I came up with this idea that I just love, which is so cool. I think that fits this spidery idea. So basically, Archibald Gray is Skovlon, right? From
Yes.
what's it called? Skovlon?
It's called Skovlon, I think.
Skovlon, yeah. He's it is sort of if the one that Ross was talking about was kind of like Ireland, this one is sort of like the Scandinavian countries. And unlike a lot of his people, he's born very small, and for a while his father pushes him into the horse racing trade to try to get him to be a jockey. And it works for a while, but then he grows a little too big, and he's still only 5'6" and like 141 pounds. But he's, too big to be a jockey. And around that same time, he got injured, and so he walks with a slight limp. But he's got this reddish Scandinavian hair. He's rail thin, pointed features, and he's turned to a life of crime to try to make some money where he couldn't in a more legitimate racket. But I think that he both uses the horse racing as a vice, which is a mechanic of the game. Like you have to have something
Right.
kind of like into that's not good for you. And so he's way into gambling at the track.
Right.
But I think the track is also where he does a lot of his work as a spider. He sort of moves between the higher and lower classes at the track. And I picture him in a designer suit that is way past its prime, a little scuffed up, little threadbare around the cuffs, cheap shoes, but he tries to hobnob with the best of them because he can't keep the money in his pocket long enough to get to the station he wants to.
I love the racetrack for a mastermind. It's got percentages, probabilities.
Yes.
It's got all kinds of shady characters to recruit and or displace in the criminal networks that they belong to. That's wonderful. It reminds me of like 20 noir films. Can't wait to also try to kill this guy. Okay, and Troy, tell us about your character, my friend. This guy is a slide, and he's weird.
He's weird. I'm so fired up to play this game. I was telling you before we started, I've been sitting with this book for 2 months, and I've just been like maybe a little afraid to jump in because it's so vastly different from every other RPG that we play. So I'm so psyched to do this. So when I dove in to trying to create a character, I was like, do I make a normal, like gritty guy to fit this? Or do I make him weird? And there were weird options. So I went weird. And it started right with his heritage. When I read through them, the last one is Tycheros. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like a real weird place. And everybody from Tycheros has like demon influence in them. There's sort of, they're like the tieflings of Blades in the Dark.
Yeah.
I don't think they're as overt as like a Pathfinder D&D tiefling, but they all have one little thing about them. So for him, he has no pupils.
Yeah. It also kind of reminds me of like the Fremen from Dune. They're people, they're humans, but there's just something they're different.
Off.
Yeah, there's something off about him. So he's pupilless, and he's got all kinds of abilities to sway and manipulate people. So we have, I think we said, a savvy crew of smugglers tonight. Because the other thing that the game has you do is sort of pick a type of crew, and we've gone with smugglers for this game. And so these gentlemen, they figure out ways to move contraband cargo in and out of Duskfall, a very dangerous business. I'm sure you'll all agree. I think we can get started in just a second, but the thing I wanted to do was I think since we're doing a one-shot and this game is, it's really in some ways built for some campaign play, we've got to kind of up the ante a little bit tonight and make it really interesting. So in this game, when you take consequences from various bad things that happen to you, it makes a stress bar go up. And when the stress bar hits a certain point, you gain a trauma. And when characters have 4 traumas, they have to retire. And if they haven't saved enough coin, their retirement is really sad and horrible. They may end up, a destitute vagrant living under a bridge and eating rats, or they may end up in some sort of like weird brothel where, I don't know. Duskfall contains many horrors. You
Like
imagine
my
one of your own.
actual retirement.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
sound exactly like my financial advisor.
It's where all of us are going to be pretty soon here in the real world. But let's talk about the idea that I thought tonight it might be fun to play on hard mode, meaning we're going to roll a D3 right now. And that's how many traumas your character is going to start with.
So we're all going to have different
roll.
amounts of trauma?
You're going to have multiple traumas, possibly. Now, I have a D3 in front of me. Does anybody? But you guys have D6s or something? So it's better for you to roll, so you don't get angry at me when I roll the inevitable 3. And then I'm going to tell you these traumas can affect your character. You can, in other words, you can role play them if you want. You can also just put them on the sheet and say it's part of his background. It comes up sometimes, but I'm not going to play it every scene I'm in. So the traumas are cold. You are not moved by emotional appeals or social bonds. Haunted. You are often lost in reverie, reliving past horrors. I'm not going to. I'm going to just go through them quickly. Obsessed. Paranoid. Reckless, my favorite. Soft, you lose your edge and become sentimental, passive, and gentle. Unstable and vicious. So those are on despair. I think it's no. It's unstable and vicious. Okay, so let's roll those D3s. Tell me how many traumas you have, guys.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
man.
Middle of the road. I got 2 traumas.
2 bagger for murmur.
2 bagger for murmur.
Oh boy.
1.
Oh, nice.
all right.
Okay, so you
Also
start with
one.
one, and then
Nice,
one
Ross.
for Marco.
God.
Okay, so these guys they're already kind of on their last legs. Like, my idea for your crew tonight is that they've already had some losses. Like, they're not fresh-faced young rogues at the beginning of their career. They've lost territory. They've lost clients, right? They need this score, because if they don't get this score, it's the end for them. Their career as a criminal in Duskfall is over. They've already had their sanity and their courageousness shattered by this awful town. And how was it damaged? How were they damaged? What is your damage? Troy, you're the one with the most traumas here. So what do you think? Is he haunted? Is he unstable?
I think he's maybe
Paranoid?
I like haunted.
Yeah.
And then maybe
Especially for you weirdo.
Yeah.
Unstable can lead to some fun role playing opportunities.
It
when
says
he
your
just acts
emotional
impulsively.
Yeah, your emotional state is volatile. You can instantly rage or fall into despair. That is
Perfect.
You're
I'll
gonna
go-
have fun
I'll go
with that,
haunted and
dude.
unstable.
enjoy that.
I'll be dead in 30 minutes.
Seriously,
and-
we're going to be kicking you out of the crew in 30 minutes.
Can I
And-
pull you aside to talk about Pontiac? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm worried about Pontiac. I don't think he's ready for this job. All right. And Ross, you have one trauma. What would you like to start with? For a cutter, maybe he's vicious. Maybe he's paranoid. Maybe he's cold.
Yeah.
What do you
I think,
think?
let's go vicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seek out opportunities to hurt people even for no good reason. Play.
Doing it.
Yeah.
He's so pretty when he does it.
I mean, he's
Life
good
as a
looking. Of
crew,
course he
that's-
does that.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, Joe. Joe, you had one trauma that you rolled to start with. What do you think? Do you want your spider to be soft, paranoid, obsessed,
I'm actually going
reckless?
to go. Yeah, I'm actually going to go with reckless. And I
Yeah.
think, and you know what? I think it's from a life, so many years horse racing, because I think that he was not in like posh horse racing. He's in like brutal cutthroat horse racing where like your life was on the line a lot, and you got adrenaline from that. And yeah, you know, he got hurt, got knocked out, but it hasn't changed this like part of his personality that's like, I'm invincible, I'll do whatever, you know.
Right,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. So even though he's a mastermind who plans things carefully, he loves a big gamble.
Yes, exactly.
Well, then, I think we're ready. I think we have a crew of broken individuals, a crew of broken smugglers with a hideout. Your hideout, what we decided on was you work out of an abandoned rail car in a neighborhood called Coleridge, and you have a vehicle. That's what a smuggler crew gets at the beginning of their their career. But I'm gonna detail that vehicle in a minute. For now, I want to set the scene. You have been led by one of your contacts, a tavern keeper named Esme. She has a potential source of information for you, and here's how it's going to go down. Pontiac, Marco, and Archibald. You meet your contact in a tavern calling itself the End of the Line. It's mostly frequented by railjacks, men and women whose job it is to protect the steam-powered trains that travel through the empire, carrying precious cargo. Of course, that means these trains travel through the Deathlands, outside the lightning towers that protect Duskfall and the other cities of the empire. The End of the Line happens to sit a couple 100 yards from a huge tangle of tracks beneath the shadow of an enormous pylon, a lightning tower. Every once in a while, the thing ignites, sending down a rain of sparks, filling the dingy bar with a bright blue glow. And when this happens, all the cockroaches scurry back under the tables. And then, when the light dims again, they come crawling back out. And tonight, 3 cockroaches have crawled into the bar. Yes, I am referring to your characters as cockroaches. And you're talking to your contact that Esme set you up with, and her name is Squint. Squint.
Yeah.
There she is. It's Squint.
Yeah.
And she's got a tale to tell. She's a former railjack, and she heard things from the other railjacks. See, it just so happens that way out there in the Deathlands, there's a stretch of track with a train on it that never made it back to Duskfall. It was headed back from White Hollow on the White Hollow Run one night, and it just never showed up on time. None of the railjacks or the people aboard the train ever made it back into town either. No one's sure exactly what happened out there, but a huge train loaded for bear with railjacks whose job it is to protect cargo just never made it home. So whatever got to them was real big and real scary, because you know there's stuff out there that doesn't even have a name. The spectrologists haven't cataloged it yet. But here's why I'm telling you. That train had 100 barrels of primo Leviathan blood on it. We're talking pure electroplasm. The kind of stuff that can be made into fuel, drugs, you name it. It's the goddamn building blocks of the universe. And it's sitting out there abandoned, and no one has claimed it. Because the Ministry of Preservation is fighting with the Bluecoats, who are fighting with the Railjacks about whose job it is to go out there and get it. And they say it's bureaucracy. But we all know they're scared. So if you go grab it, my fee would be like, I don't know, 10 coin.
10 coin is a lot. Right?
10 coin is an enormous amount, but
Yeah.
I can tell you guys with no rolls necessary that if you somehow brought back half or even a small percentage of the barrels of electroplasm that she says are out there, you would in fact be rich men. This could be the score that makes you. You can also bargain with her, I guess, if you'd like to get her down. But in the meantime, I want to know how you plan this score. The thing that happens when you plan a score is you just kind of decide on one detail. You decide on the approach. You decide on the route you're going to take to get to this stuff. And then everything else will start happening. And we can do flashbacks if we want to see other preparations that you made. But I would like to cut right now to you deciding, you're in your abandoned rail car. You're standing around kind of a map of Duskfall and the environs, the Deathlands out beyond Duskfall. And you're deciding, how are we going to get out here? And try to grab that abandoned car full of electroplasm. And the other thing that I'll tell you is that your vehicle is ideally suited for this particular job. You guys, as smugglers, have a vehicle called a rail runner. Do you remember in old movies those things where you pump them up and down and they move along a railroad track? Well, you guys have a sort of more armored, steampunky version of that. And it's large. It potentially could carry many barrels of electroplasm back to Duskfall. The problem is, in order to go out there to the Deathlands, you have to get outside the city walls. And to get outside the city walls, you have to get past the Ministry of Preservation, who guards the borders of the city and keeps track of everybody going in and out. Then you have to traverse something like 50 miles of ghost-filled wasteland, post-apocalyptic, post-cataclysmic Spectreville to get to the train, load it up, and then you have to get back inside the city. So I want to know the one detail that you're going to give me. What is the route that you're taking? How are you getting out there?
I'm wondering if we can bribe, if one of our contacts knows someone that could bribe one of the guards to let us in and out, because then at least we know we have a way in and out without being deterred.
Well, it doesn't sound to me like they're guarding it. Like, it sounds like they haven't gone because they're afraid. So I was thinking maybe we could get a blue coat that is in on these meetings as to what threats they're facing and what route they think they're going to take. Just to get some sort of plan as to how to get out there. So, maybe a simple consort or sway or something like that to bribe a guard to tell
These are great ideas, and they can happen. But this is the nature of the kind of unique and I think really innovative rules of Blades in the Dark. It's hard for me to get my head around it sometimes too, because I'm so used to traditional role-playing games. But they literally just want to start when you're starting a score with when you if for example, if I was telling you that you were gonna rob a house right now, you would say, I'm coming in through the sewers, or we're gonna go in through a window, or we're gonna literally crash a carriage into the side and knock over a wall. So for this, I want to know something specific. Right out of your imagination, out of your character's kind of mind, of how you're going to get either past the walls or get out there, the route, what is your route to get out there?
Well, I mean, I guess because of our vehicle, so we're probably going to do a transport, right? We're probably locked into transport of the 6 options of how to approach a target. So transport says carry cargo or people through danger. We're under no misconceptions that we're not going to see danger. or that we're gonna like slide in without being seen.
Yeah.
So
What if there was no danger? What if I was just like, I just didn't put anything dangerous in?
We go there, we get it, we come back in.
we
Yeah.
get the downtime, cure trauma. Get
That
some
could be
therapy.
fun too, because these could be like more of an adventure where you guys kind of just talk about your lives. It's sort of like an indie film.
Indulge in our vices.
Yeah, exactly.
The first mumblecore RPG.
So I actually
be
really love that
yeah,
idea,
yeah,
and
no,
I'm going to
like,
write down to make that.
If Charlie Kaufman was streaming
Yeah.
an RPG.
Yeah.
All right. So how about we do transport, and then our route is nothing clever at the moment. We could always make it a little more clever later, but it's the quickest, most direct track
Yeah.
from
There's
the
no
city
secret
to
way
the,
in and
to
out.
the
You gotta-
cargo train with our vehicle.
Okay, so I'm letting you know that I'll just let you know one thing, which is that there are many different rails in and out of the city. You want the most direct route, is what you're telling me. So that's probably out of Gaddock Rail Station, which is an enormous hub of people and police and state-of-the-art trains that move in and out of Duskfall. It's right south of a neighborhood called Night Market, which is sort of the teeming kind of mercantile and also red light district of Duskfall.
Love this so
Yeah. So you guys want to sort of infiltrate Gaddock Rail Station. That you're gonna go out of Gaddock Rail Station with your little rail runner vehicle. Is that what you're telling me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So we're
so dangerous already.
Yep.
yeah,
And we're
yeah.
we're with a haunted, unstable person.
So just
With demon blood.
everybody's unstable. You're going into the Ghostlands to steal demon blood.
Right. Yeah.
So great. We're going to kind of try to sneak out of the most bustling rail station in all of Akaros.
Yeah, we fade into the crowd. What's not to enjoy?
Right. You're going to just try to, I guess I'm going to interpret your ideas as it's so busy that maybe you will kind of get lost in the shuffle. That's how I'm going to interpret your plan. And now we're going to make what's called the engagement roll. And the engagement roll lets me know, it's a fortune roll. And it lets me know how much things are in your favor or out of favor for you when we start. So now is like a good time for us to kind of talk through the advantages and disadvantages of this plan you've come up with a little bit. I'd say Gaddock, normally you get one die for luck. Okay. You've definitely got a vehicle that's suited to it. I'll give you a die for that. But then it's the most bustling and well-guarded rail station in all of the city, so I'm taking away a die for that. Can anybody else think of advantages your crew might have with this plan or disadvantages? And to give you an idea of what the kind of thing I'm talking about, does your crew's reputation in some way help you? Do any of your particular character's abilities or equipment help them in some way? Anything like that to let me know if the fortune roll gets more dice.
What was the city, the red light district? That's the area we're in, or we just went past it?
Just south of the red light district, which is called Night Market, is where this huge rail station is. And the rail station is so large that it's almost a neighborhood unto itself. At least that's what it looks like on the map. It's very big.
Well, I was a former. I spent some time as a prostitute, and so this is probably the area that I would pick up clients at the train station. What better area? So I probably know it really well.
When you were a street urchin, you would get the clients right as they got off the train.
Right.
I love
Street
that.
urchin turned prostitute. I've had a rough life. All right.
And let's say, kind of on that track, I've occasionally been known to serve as muscle for the ladies and gentlemen around this way. So if they got a particularly dangerous client and they want to make sure nobody gets a little too handsy where they shouldn't be, give it a little call to Pretty Marco.
Yeah.
So I've got a few friends around these environs who might be able to give me a document they plucked out of a railjack's pocket, might give us some passage through these gates.
You know what? I'm going to give you guys a die for this frankly hilarious setup. But I want this caper to definitely involve prostitutes in some way. When you engage. Yes, go ahead. You had a question?
No, I just said sold.
Oh, sold. Okay, I thought you were like, so. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you 2 dice for this engagement roll. Two dice. And let's see. So, in Blades in the Dark, you roll a 6-sided die. Your trait tells you how many of those to roll. It only goes up to about 4. So 4 is the most die that you could roll. And if you hit a 6, you succeed. If you hit a 4 or 5, you succeed with consequences. So you succeed, but something happens that makes it complicated. Something bad happens, or potentially challenging happens. And if you score a 1 through 3, you fail and you take consequences. A fortune roll, which is what I'm doing now, just kind of lets us know what the lay of the land is like when you start your score. And so I'm rolling it. And
oh no.
Okay, so
no,
Always a great sign.
Jared, don't laugh at us.
I'm one of those game masters who, when the players are hosed, I can't help but go.
Yeah. There's no poker face.
Yes, I am poker faceless.
In those moments.
And I don't even know why I got that excited. Well, I got that excited because I didn't see any 6s. You got the highest die was a 4. So
Okay.
it means that this is a risky proposition for you. I think it's probably very risky. I think that you are taking it sounds like you're taking your rail runner like out of night market down into the rail station, and you're going to have to get past Ministry of Preservation guards. Ministry of Preservation guards are a little bit tougher than the blue coats. The blue coats being the normal police for Duskfall, because Ministry of Preservation guards, their job is literally to keep the city from being destroyed by the nightmarish horrors outside of it. They have to be a little bit more on their guard, and they're sort of like border patrol. So let's describe the scene. Your rail runner is sort of like creaking down the tracks, and up ahead you can see, the lights of Gaddock Rail Station and the bright shiny metal, like the lights reflecting off of all the bright kind of. This is the only part of Duskfall that isn't thoroughly coated in soot. I'm sorry. They have people shining it all day. Like, this is the gateway to Duskfall. And so you're kind of like creaking along like an adjunct rail way, and you're kind of going along, and you realize that pretty soon you're going to come into an area where there are people moving along the platforms on either side of you. You've kind of come into like a gully with your rail car where there's going to be people moving about above you, and you're going to start entering the rail station proper. Are you worried about people seeing you, or are you playing it cool? Let me know how this is going.
I think people in these sort of places, they don't know nothing. If something train car comes through, they think it might be garbage collectors or something like that. Let's just tell them we're collecting garbage if they ask, or they might not ask at all. We could just say, out of the way, we're collecting garbage. Yell. As long as you yell at somebody, they're going to be fearful. They're not going to know.
Great. Yeah.
He says this like super hyper. Like, I'm so nervous.
No, I love that.
I'm trying to picture putting my own rail vehicle into Grand Central Station and then taking it out of there without being seen by
no way of doing this in a subtle.
I'm like, this is horrifying.
Well, I actually think that you hit on it. I think that you hit on it like, you guys, when I lived in New York City, there were maintenance guys all the time. So I think that you guys are, are probably just kind of moving along and trying to be subtle.
Yeah,
and
quick,
trying to be
look poor and filthy.
Yes. So why don't you do that for me? Why don't you look poor and filthy somehow? Tell me how you're doing that. There are many different stats on your sheet. Everybody can do everything in Blades in the Dark. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. There's no character that's, magic is only that character's purview. Everybody in Blades in the Dark, for example, can attune to the ghost field and try to do things with ghosts. Some of the character types are better at it than others, but they can all do it. All the characters can skirmish, fight with knives or their fists. All the characters can study and learn things out of old hoary tomes. So everybody can do everything, but it's a matter of the scale at which they are good at it. So let me know, how do you think you are doing this? Yeah,
I have an idea. How about, could I use a flashback? So
I think that you absolutely could. Yes.
Okay. And
so
that's two
describe
stress?
only if it's a really tough one. If I think
yeah,
it's
okay.
a very
So
unlikely.
I don't think this is that tough. So basically, through the through my contacts at the racetrack, I know a guy named Mervyn Hooligan, and he
I know old Merv.
Mervyn
old
Hooligan.
Merv. You know
The
old Merv.
hooligan. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
him.
the hooligan, old Merv, and he is a bit of he's in sanitation. He's in the sanitation department, and I said, hey, I'll slip you one coin. Could you get me a few of them overalls you all use? And we could go through there looking like just plain old garbage men, just straight right through. And so we have them when we're there. We have these overalls that we can put on that make us look like maintenance workers on the track.
Absolutely. I think that's a very easy thing for a spider to do. I think it's a one stress flashback. So take one stress. A flashback sometimes costs 2 or 3 stress because you're saying things like, I planned for a certain airship to land at exactly 10 p.m. But telling me that before you arrived, you made sure you guys all had these kind of like garbage collector like maintenance uniforms sounds totally no problem. And I think that like what happens is as you slowly kind of start to enter the station, you guys stop before you get to where the main crowd is, and you all like quickly like snap yourselves into them. And so now you all look like nondescript maintenance workers. Now you're moving into the tracks. You're moving into the area where trains are kind of moving and going by. And I have to tell you that as you pull into this area, behind you, you suddenly hear like a boom, boom, and right by your face, like this enormous steam train like pulls into the station, like
Oh, shit.
and you guys are just kind of like click, clack, 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 clack. Now, your vehicle isn't ridiculous and pathetic. It can achieve pretty good speeds, and I don't want you to think, I described it as steampunky. I don't want you to think that you have to like Laurel and Hardy your way through this adventure.
Our caper is stealing a pie from a windowsill this week.
Just 200 more miles.
Yep.
You find yourself navigating the tangle of tracks, kind of weaving in between the trains, and soon you are coming to basically the outer gate of the station, the outer gate where the trains, they like planes in a modern airport, they kind of all kind of queue up and then move, out after the Ministry of Preservation has checked the number on the locomotive and talked to the engineer very quickly. So very soon you are going to have to speak to a Ministry of Preservation guard if you continue on this route. These guys, they're not dressed like the Bluecoats who are dressed like, 19th century bobbies. These guys have like almost like sleek, almost deco uniforms. And they look, quite imposing. And you see them moving along and kind of making note of the various cargo on the side of one train. And then you see this gentleman in particular, he goes ahead, he's like, waves the train through, and the locomotive engineer tips his hat, and it exits out into the Deathlands. So, how are you going to handle these guards when you get near them?
I have an idea here. I guess this would involve another flashback. This might be a 2 stress.
We're gonna be at full stress and out of the game halfway in because of all. We're gonna call for so many flashbacks, but
maybe
absolutely.
it doesn't. If I could just say what I've got.
No, I'm not. Okay, I'll allow it.
That sounds like a 3 stress to me, Jared.
3 stress. Go ahead, Ross.
As I said, I've got contacts among the the sex workers in the red light district. So let's say I in our planning to this, there are workmen, rail jacks, and rail officials coming through this port all the time. And when they come back from a long journey, they'll often want to spend the night in a port after a long time at sea, so to speak. And a friend of mine, a worker down in the red light district, let's say he owes me a favor. I promise to do them a favor. If they'll pinch me from the coat of one of these fellows who's come back, a work order that we can forge as a document of transport to and from.
Ross! Well, Ross, not only did you involve the prostitutes as I demanded you do, you also came up with a pretty stunning plan. I do think that it's a little harder than getting uniforms, so I think that's 2 stress on your sheet. Right. And as you guys start to move your rail runner up toward the gates, pretty boy Marco Coyle pulls the work order out of his sleeve, and you have it in your hand as you approach the guard.
I had this from Bill Sylvain. I promised to do him a good turn.
He takes it from you, and he's looking. He has that face as he scans the work order.
Oh, such a scary face.
And he's like, broken track. I thought they fixed that. H-line? I was sure that they took care of that. You sure this isn't a duplicate?
Listen there, my lord, we goes where they tell us. So if that's what the paper says, then that's where we're going. We got it from the folks up above, so if you want to hold us up, then I suppose that's on you.
I think that I want a role of some sort.
Maybe Pontiac will slip in here because he's a bit of a sway master, and he also has this power called Mesmerism. If I successfully sway this guy, he'll forget what's happened until the next time we interact with him.
Maybe
so
you should talk to the foreman.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I'm just keeping my head down, just like I'm working on something. He's so tiny. He's 5'6". He's down there just like keeping his head down, not making eye contact.
Great.
Yeah, maybe Pontiac will say something to the effect. He's like, I'm just the muscle here, but I heard that whatever they did to try and fix H didn't work, and that's why we're going back out.
A simple but effective fib. And so why don't you give me your sway roll?
Sway roll. And so I have 2 points in sway, so that's 2d6. That's pretty good, but I could get an assist, or I could take stress to like really try and push it over the top if I wanted to.
Exactly. And anybody that assists you would take 1 stress. 2 is pretty good. It's pretty good.
I feel good about 2.
Okay.
Let's see what happens. 4 and a 5. 4 and a 5.
Great. Okay. So you succeed, but with consequences. Now, I would say the consequence in this particular case would be that, let's see, there's all kinds of consequences. I actually want to read them off to make sure I choose the most painful one.
Fair enough.
Yes. You could have a reduced effect on your roll. The effect you're going for is that you want to be let through. I would say that that's a standard effect. So you would get limited. You could have a complication, which might mean that I tick up an alertness clock on the Ministry of Preservation on your little party. A lost opportunity, a worse position where you have to re-roll.
What was my initial position? Was that something? Is that something?
Yeah,
the game
that's
master
something
tells
we can.
The players?
It is, and it's something I should thank you for reminding me. I should always say whether your position is controlled, risky, or desperate. I feel like that was a controlled position. I just feel like a work order and everybody's in worker garb.
Pretty's flashback,
yeah. Like thanks to those 2 flashbacks, I feel like that's a controlled position, and I'd say it's a standard effect. Let me through, right? You're not asking to like have the guy fired or move a giant locomotive through that doesn't have papers. You're asking to move this little cart through. I think that what I'm going to do, I'm going to say that someone else has to roll something, that because it was a complication, it is now a worse position. It's now risky, or you have to reapproach from another way. And here's how that's going to manifest. He goes, well, I've got other people to move through right now, so just move it over to the adjunct track there, and I'll get to you when I can.
We'll be there all day. The worst.
He's being a bureaucrat. Well, it's not only is it irritating, but from running scores that the longer you sit in an area, the more people go, oh, I remember those guys.
Right.
So I want to know if I want someone else, or I want Murmur to once again try something on this guy. This guy's now said, like, well, I'll get to you when I'll get to you. So,
Right. And then he forgot that I ever asked him.
Could I? Yeah. I mean, this guy seems like a real officious person, and this might not work. I mean, could I just try to consort with him and just try to? It's like, come on, workman to workman. It's times of the essence here. We're trying to get back. You don't want things to get backed up.
You know what? That my friend seems fine. That seems like a good. I mean, that's the tactic you would take with a bureaucrat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, come on, we're just a couple of laborers.
Yeah.
Pensions, right? So why don't you go ahead and run?
My boss is going to hand it to me if I don't get this done on time.
Right, exactly.
Come on, mate.
Give me a consort.
Can I assist?
You certainly may.
As well, like just right along the same lines.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll take 1 stress to assist, but you'll get an extra die to your consort roll, my friend.
Okay.
My friend Cutter, my friend Marco Coyle.
Okay. Well, mine. I rolled a 3 and a 5.
Oh, okay. So right now you, but Joe's character assisted you, so you roll a 3rd die.
Okay.
Get
And
that
here-
6.
Get that 6, buddy.
Come on.
It was a 2.
Okay.
All right, so success again.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that the complication is there's an alert clock with these guys about they're keeping an eye on you, and that alert clock's going up 1 tick. You have to get back in past these guys once you have the stuff, so that's not good. And I'm also going to say that if you had just succeeded and then he had forgotten you ever existed, you'd be sliding past them no problem. But because it was a proposition, a control proposition where you had to reapproach, yeah, he remembers you now is what I'm going to say. But 15 minutes later, he nods at you, and you think you'd get a smile, you think you'd get like hey, I'm a worker too, but instead he gives you one of these. And that's all he gives you. And soon your tiny rail runner is tick, 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 ticking out into the Deathlands.
So are we allowed to know what that clock is? Like,
Yeah, can we talk about these alert clocks? Because I think this is
the
a
alert
fascinating
clock
mechanic.
is the best. It is.
This is the best mechanic in the world, and it truly seems like, I'm not sure, I haven't heard John Harper, the designer, talk about it, but it feels like something you would think of on the fly while you're GMing, and you just draw kind of a clock. It's seriously a circle with 4 quadrants, or 8, or however many you think you need.
4 or 6 or 8.
Yeah, and you and each time a complication comes up, and you want to give a consequence to the players. The consequence can be ticking up those alert clocks. And it means that, like, if this alert clock, if these guys keep getting consequences that I think relate to the Ministry of Preservation and the guards that are guarding Gaddock Rail Station, then it could go all the way up, and suddenly they've got a bunch of guards trying to corner them, trying to arrest them. So, and that's just one of the clocks. You can do it for absolutely everything. For example, if someone's opening a vault and it's a very complex lock, you could give the players a clock on how many more moves, how many more successes they need before they have opened that safe or that vault. So you can do it for almost anything in the game. It's a super abstracted mechanic. Right now you have 1 tick Yeah, here
Oh
they are.
yeah, there we go.
You have one tick, and what I'm giving the Ministry of Preservation. Look, if they were the Blue Coats, I might give them 8 pieces of pie for their alert. But the Ministry of Preservation, they only have 4 pieces of pie for their alert.
Oh boy.
If they are very good about their jobs.
So we're
and they-
25% toward alerting them fully to our us being not up to snuff or whatever.
That's right. The guy remembers you now.
And
is
we're
how I'm gonna
miles away
phrase it.
from achieving our goal, and we got to get back.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think that we might need another point of ingress when we return to the city.
And we have to pass through with 100 barrels of the most valuable substance
At maximum.
in the known world.
Something that won't bear searching. Yeah.
So the good news is you're out into the Deathlands, guys. You
That's the good news.
Yeah.
Oh, just a blasted heat.
You come to where you're kind of exiting. There's the city, and then there are the walls, and then there are these enormous like bits of infrastructure that kind of hold up like where the lightning barrier is, and then there's like kind of this tunnel that allows trains to pass through the lightning barrier, and as your little cart passes under it, you see enormous arcs of like white and blue light like shine across the sky above you. And remember that Akaros, the land that you Duskfall is in, is set in perpetual twilight because the cataclysm destroyed the sun. So this beautiful light from the lightning towers lights up the sky like the aurora borealis, and then before you know it, it's behind you, and you're moving through the countryside, which is sort of bathed in a perpetual fog. There are 500 varieties of fog in the Deathlands. Thick, billowy fog that curls about your feet. Black and wet fog that soaks into your shirt, staining it. A thin, warm white fog that makes sweat break out on your forehead and your heart beat a little faster. So that is what you're kind of moving through. And then every once in a while you get like little glimpses of the actual countryside, rolling hills that were once green but are now sort of brown or gray, and the collapsed remains of villages from many 1,000 years ago. I mean, they're barely even ruins anymore. They're just like kind of tumbled piles of stones. And you're moving through this sort of countryside when finally you come to a place where the trains decide which way they're going. You come to kind of an interlocking grid area where you can choose different routes. And I want to know if you had planned properly to know exactly how to get out to the track you're going to.
Obviously,
and I
we
wanna-
did, Jared. Obviously, we did.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so you had a spider on your team, so you better have.
Sounds like a classic spider flashback.
Yep.
Spider flash.
Maybe it's a flashback, or maybe it's just a roll. Maybe it's just a roll. Is there something on your sheet that would allow you to know, like to navigate properly and go the right way? And I can tell you that the reason that this matters is if you don't want to go the wrong way in the Deathlands. It's called the Deathlands, and you could end up in the skeletal remains of one of these villages where ghosts tend to breed strong and thick. So tell me
I
how
have an
you...
idea here, and it introduces a mechanic we didn't discuss, and we should have. I just remembered this. We didn't talk about gearing up or the load mechanic or the
That's
load
right.
out, which is awesome. So basically, we look at the mission in front of us and we say, we each choose as characters what sort of load we want to carry: a light load, a normal load, or a heavy load. And depending, if you're doing like an infiltration into the mayor's house, you might want to do a light load. On this one, I think we could do a heavy load pretty easily because we're not really trying to deceive a lot of people here. We're trying to bull our way in and bull our way out with a whole bunch of stuff. So I don't know what you guys want to do, but I would do heavy. And then what you do is you have access to all of your equipment, like a ton of your equipment. And then as it comes up or as it's necessary, you just check off like, I have that. But once you get to your limit of checking off, it's the limit of the load you chose. So like, it's really cool. You could have like 15 items and be like, I chose a light load, but you only pick the items you need as the events come up. And then once you get to that fourth one and you need it, you don't have it because you're already at your light load, which you announced before the mission. I think it's such a cool mechanic.
It's brilliant, and it is sort of hilariously backwards from the way other role playing games work, where you sit down before you ever start playing and fill out your inventory with every conceivable thing you might need. This lets you, when you need it, say you have it. So what do you have, Archibald?
I have blueprints of the tracks in every given direction, and I think I could roll a survey on the tracks.
Please do.
Like, pick which one is in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have 2 in survey, so that's pretty damn good.
I'd be happy to assist you. I'm just trying to think of a way.
I'd be happy to be assisted.
Yeah, I think that the danger here is that you may go into one of these strange areas, and we've definitely said that Pontiac is strange. So
It's true.
um,
So as you're looking over the blueprints, I'm lost in reverie, reliving past horrors, and seeing things.
Yeah,
Shake out of
he's haunted again.
It's like, sorry, I was just reliving past horrors and seeing things that weren't there. I don't know why, but I just have this feeling that it's that way. And he closes his eyes and reaches out and he opens them up again. He's got these blue, like John Lennon glasses on, no pupils present. He just points, stresses himself, and
stresses himself. He literally strains. Okay, great. Take. I think you take. What is it? 1 stress to assist. Take 1 stress, Pontiac, and that gives you 3 dice on that survey. Archibald.
the
Come on,
Grumpy
Archie.
Gray. Here's
There we
this. Looks at you, point with your pupilless eyes. That is like, I think I'm still going to look at the map, at the blueprints. All right, here we go. 3 die. And we're going for a 6 here. Come on. We haven't had a 6 yet.
which one is my assist die? I want to see if my point works.
It's my one from Croatia. That
Ooh, beautiful.
Isn't that a gorgeous little stone D6? I love that one.
Yeah, that's lovely.
All right. The Croatian die is the die of the haunted, unstable weirdo. Here we go. 5. 2 5s.
5 is our highest.
5 is our highest.
You look at it and you think, well, I see the route and it is where Pontiac's pointing, but I'm not sure if he's. It's the only available route, but I'm not sure if he's sensing what's safe or if he's just sensing where there might be spirits, because it is going to take us through one of these little collapsed villages to get out to this locomotive, the Halo 137 out of White Hollow. And so you are ticking down along the track, and soon you start to see little kind of like piles of stones that maybe once were houses or gates or barns, and they're kind of like tumbled down the side of the hill. And if you've ever looked at photos of menhirs from England, you kind of know what I'm talking about. These sort of mounds where there are sort of stones kind of piled up. And as you all start to move through this area, you start to hear whispers coming seemingly from the direction of the stones. And it's not very easy to make out what the whispers are saying.
It's the others.
Frenzy or is there Pontiac?
Sure, this is the right way, mate.
You realize that you are kind of going deeper, and you must go deeper through this village. You must go to where the kind of the epicenter is of it to move farther through. So I want to know what one of you or all of you would like to do, because this is potentially trouble. As you're watching, like the fog starts to coalesce into kind of human-shaped forms, and for a moment down the track, you seem to see kind of a gray silhouette kind of move out of your field of vision, so you
boy.
can see that the ghosts are starting to congregate. What are you going to do?
Can anyone attune? Is that their jam?
No.
But
All right,
what I
devil's
was
bargain.
thinking. I was thinking.
Yes,
this
we
might
should
be a
talk
good-
about that. We
This
should
would be
talk
a good
about that.
opportunity for a desperate move.
Yes.
And being that I am reckless as my trauma, I might, with no skill at all, try to attune with one of these ghosts and just be like,
Be cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
just relax. I
Give it
mean,
passage.
we're all right. We're just passing through. Don't worry about us. No need to look the other way. But it's really risky, man. So basically, and this is one of the things I love about the game in reading it. They're like, you don't have to be a ghost expert to like
Right.
interact with ghosts. Even if you have no points in the skill, unlike other games where like if you have no points in the skill, you're utterly useless at that skill. This game is like, it's just a little harder for you, but like everybody in this world has like ghost encounters.
Right.
Everybody in this world is surrounded by these like ethereal spirits and stuff like that. And so it's just part of the existence. Some are better than others, but like et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I just like that about the system as well.
I do, and I love the devil's bargain mechanic, which says that I can offer a bonus die, but I make something bad happen in the fiction. Okay? That's literally what the rule says. So you get one die, just as a chance die when you don't have any dots in a tune, right? And that die you have to go with you have to go with whatever it rolls. Let's add a bonus die, but I'm going to offer a devil's bargain. The devil's bargain is like, as you start to attune, these spirits are going to ask something of you, and you have to give it to them in order for them to let you pass.
Sure, of course. Who wouldn't even shy away for a moment? I mean, he's used to people asking him, "Oh, you got to give us a little more, get you the opportunity you need." He's like, "Of course, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back."
So you start to attune to the ghost field, and I want your 2-die roll.
So I get a 2-die roll because I made a bargain, and so something bad's going to happen to me regardless, even if I succeed.
I know what it's gonna be in the fiction. I should tell it to you clearly. I think that these ghosts are going to ask to come back with you into Duskfall, because at least they want to ride one of you back into the city, right? Because those lightning barriers keep them out. So you
we have
are
to
going to
smuggle in a
attune.
ghost with all of our other contraband.
That's
great.
correct.
Just
that's
got us another
awesome.
job.
Yes.
We're already pot committed at this point. Let's
Yeah.
another ghost to
Yeah.
add to our
Why
Dungeons
not?
and Demons list.
You are so much better than my GM at Glass Cannon. All right.
I don't know. That guy's okay. All right.
I've heard good things.
Yeah. So go ahead and give me the roll, because there could be even still more consequences, and I want to describe what happens when you do this.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh god. You know what? I'm gonna take 2 stress and add another die.
Hell yeah! Here we go.
Wow.
Oh boy.
I'm just gonna pump it up, man, because this is risky, man. I
Dance
don't want
on
to
the
mess around
edge.
with ghosts, dude. Even if I got to bring one back, we'll deal with that later. But I don't want to get screwed up before you even get there. Let's try to get a 6 here. I got 3 die. 3 die. Let's
Cognac's getting twitchy. He's unstable, you know.
I know.
I don't like this.
Yes.
So let me describe what happens. Basically, Archibald is like, "Oh, we've got to attune. We got to talk to them." And he kind of just, it's kind of like just putting your mind in a place where it feels like your heart stops for a second, and then everything goes slow-mo for a moment. And when you open your eyes, all those hazy kind of like vague silhouetted forms suddenly come to stark detail, and you are looking at 150 people, and they are dressed in the garb of villagers from 1,000 years ago. And there are men who are farmers with kind of weathered faces, and there are women who are mothers, with bonnets and like old archaic clothing, and their little children staring at you with hollow eyes. And you ask them, "Can we pass?" and it's almost telepathic when you attune. It's not like you're like, hey, can we pass? It's like, you are putting out that request to them, and they say, you can pass, traveler, but you have to take a rider back into the city with you.
It's a deal. It's a
And
steal.
so you see the family I described, the family of the dead from 1,000 years ago, a family that was tending their land when suddenly a cataclysm swept across Akaros and killed them instantly. You see them let go of the hand of their small child, and the small child walks up onto your vehicle and then sinks into it. And then,
He
just
opens
like
his
that,
eyes.
they all start moving away
He's
from
like,
you.
we've got a rider.
I was under the impression we'd be picking them up on the way back. But all right, no, it's
Do we
fine.
bring, do we bring
There
enough
and back
snacks? Do we have snacks?
Do we feed it?
That was amazing, Jared.
Oh.
Great.
Look, it was your attune roll it was a 6. I mean, it went well for you. Let's
Come on, let's pick up some more precious cargo.
yeah. Any more ghosts want to hop on? Okay, so
Room for 4 more.
the hours pass, and I want to describe it kind of, if anybody's ever seen a film called Wages of Fear or Sorcerer, like you're just kind of like slowly moving through, the rail runner doesn't go extremely fast, so you're moving through this horrible, like, kind of nightmare space for what feels like days, which is actually only maybe 6 hours, and soon you're in the right place, because you are looking up on a hillside above you, in a place where the tracks kind of hang out over the sea.
I can just see the artwork of this, like it's just a still, like a silhouetted still, just like of us on the cart. Like, oh, so awesome.
That's right. As you look up to this place where the tracks hang out over the sea, you see the 200-yard length of the White Hollow Halo 137. The train is charred beyond recognition. Some sort of electroplasmic explosion has fried it. It looks like a blackened husk. And it's hanging up there, pieces of it actually literally dangling out over the ink black void sea. You approach, and as you get closer, you see that while the locomotive, the front end that's facing you, you've actually moved your cart like right up to maybe not right up to the front. You can alter that or tweak that if you want, but you're moving toward the front of the locomotive, the big kind of cow catcher kind of like front of it. You can see as you approach that back toward where the cargo is. I mean, the entire cars have been like ripped open, like blown open, like there's an enormous hole in the side of the entire locomotive. So tell me how you're approaching and what you'd like to do.
I have a real quick, just mechanical question. Could
Great.
I do in this situation, because it's so vague, but in a good way, can I do a survey roll that isn't anything really actionable so much as like gauging the land from this distance and the thing for like trouble? Because it's one of the things that it says under survey is like you kind of scan an area for like signs of trouble. Could I just see if there's anything around, almost like a perception check in D&D, without really doing anything, but just like kind of gathering information sort of roll? I know it's not an actionable thing, but I'm just curious if that's something you can do.
Okay, great. It's absolutely something you can do. Okay. So I think that you should do it. I think that you should give me that survey roll, and we'll decide if you get consequences, what the consequences are. Go ahead and
just going to take a quick look around and see if I can sniff out any danger. 5.
Okay, a 5. Okay, so the danger that you immediately sniff out is that the way to get around to that where the cargo would be, where that big hole is in the side of the train, is probably to have to climb along the side where the tracks kind of hang out over the water. Maybe you can think of a different way, but that's going to be the easiest way to access the cargo cars.
Okay. And he'll share that with you guys. Do we have a better way? I'm not much of a climber myself. The old knee. So.
Oh.
You could take a different approach if you want.
Right,
just tell me what it would be.
That's the most straightforward approach.
Is there a door, obviously there's the blown up part going in, but is there any doors on the other side? Could we do a lap around it to see if there's a safer way of getting in?
Or could you go like where the cars couple? Could there be like a door at either end of the cars?
Yeah, so to get out to those and to kind of get into the train, you would still kind of have to go around the locomotive here, right? The front engine part.
Okay.
And to do that, you'd kind of just have to kind of. It's not. I don't want you to think it's like you're hanging by a thread, but it would require a little bit of fancy footwork to just get to the end of that first locomotive, hop up to where the cars couple, and get in through the window.
I see.
Or the door.
Would that be a prowl roll?
It would be a prowl roll, yeah, which means like kind of moving gracefully or deftly through a area. Yes, it would be. And you know what would be good if you guys are going to go through with it in this manner? It would be good to try a group roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
Yeah.
I love because I was
Yes.
like, I could use this in my Pathfinder game. Like, you could straight up translate this mechanic. I think it's so good.
Yeah.
Could I-
so the way
Could I
the
say
group-
that I have my climbing gear too to help us with the roll?
Oh, absolutely, that would help with the roll. Can you check that off on your sheet?
Awesome. Yeah, I said I had a normal load, and climbing gear looks like it costs 2 things. So I'll say, well, obviously I knew this. We might
2 of
need
5.
something like this. So 2 of 5.
Well, you do know that a lot of the tracks of these trains kind of hang out over the void sea. Yeah, it was smart to bring that along, and I think that's gonna help you with this roll as well. So the way I understand a group roll is we have to designate a group leader for this roll, and then his 2 companions will roll, and based on their situation and how their rolls went, our group leader will get either plus die or we're going to take away dice. So
Oh wait, that's not how I understand it.
maybe I have it wrong. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. So here's what I think. The group leader and everybody rolls the skill with whatever their skill is, but the highest die among all of us is all we count. The highest one die.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah,
then it
I
would
think you're
succeed.
absolutely right. Thank you.
But for each other person, like, so if I only have 1 die to roll for that for a prowl, and if I roll a 1 through 3, the leader takes 1 stress for each failed roll.
That's right. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do that's way better.
It is.
Also.
It's so good. This
Yeah.
is why I wanted to translate over, because like think about in D&D group stealth checks, right? Where you're like,
Yeah.
you have the stealthy character, and then you have the paladin and all their armor and stuff like that, and you're kind of like, well, this sucks because like the paladin can't come, like they just have to wait behind, and a group stealth check is like kind of pointless because like if you're as stealthy as your least stealthy person, it's never going to work.
Right.
But if you had a mechanic where it was like everybody can roll and only the highest one we take, but all failures, the leader takes some sort of penalty for a while,
Stress.
a
Yeah.
condition, maybe they're fatigued or whatever because they're whatever. I don't know. It's an interesting mechanic. I really like it.
It's an incredible mechanic. Let's do it. Who's going to be the prowl leader here? Or it doesn't have to be prowl. I want to be clear on that. If you have some other way to rationalize a different skill and how you're getting out there, it could be that.
I have one other idea. Could we use? I'm a small guy, and I have 1 point in finesse. Would finesse be an option to shimmy under the car, like under like the track, and see if there's like an opening underneath, like a maintenance.
I kind of
Yeah.
love that. I
The type
kinda
of the
love
train
that.
they call the blinds. Get down
Yeah.
under there.
Yeah.
I really do love that.
I have both a 2 finesse and a 2 prowl, so I could sort of lead this expedition.
Yeah,
unless someone
so I could
Yeah.
do prowl. If you have 2 prowl, I have 0, but like, well, we could take 2 different paths too. but
I'm a
we're
big
so
old hunk, so
hard.
I don't have either of these. I can just, but I'll do my best.
What are your points in? Are your points in skirmish and wreck? Is that sort of...
Skirmish, command, consort, and sway? So command could in theory be rationalized to be like, I see an advantage to this.
Right.
style.
I don't know.
Into the train.
But I don't know about that.
Okay.
But if we
Okay.
go group, we're pretty much committed to that all the same skill, right?
Correct.
Well, yeah, I think that Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. Can the people that are helping or use different skills? Different.
I'm not 100% on that. I'm not 100%.
Yeah,
sure.
let me make sure. But I think that let's just designate a group leader. It sounds like a Murmur Pontiac has both prowl and some finesse.
Do you have 2 in finesse?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then let's shimmy underneath. And you be
Yeah.
group leader, because I have 1 in finesse, so that is a little better than prowl.
And because
Ross
I
is
have
pretty
none, do I
heavy.
roll at all?
I think you get 1 always.
You
for
get
luck.
1 die, but that's that could end up being a 1 and kind of make it.
Yeah.
It could also
give
end up
some
being
stress.
0 if you have like a bad situation or something like that. And on a 0, you roll 2 die and take the lower
Yeah.
of the 2 as your. So you'd have to roll boxcars basically to get a success. A pure success.
All right, so it's certainly risky, but maybe that going under is less risky than climbing out over the open void.
I mean,
Each PC involved in the teamwork group action makes an action roll using the same action.
using the same action. So everybody needs to roll finesse as you kind of like you guys, you get something off of your rail runner. You kind of like set it up like to where it can slide under the train. And this is finesse work. This is kind of like fine mechanical work to kind of get under this thing. So I think that I want a finesse roll from Cutter, from Pretty Boy Marco Coyle. I want a finesse roll from our friend Archibald the Spider, and then the final roll from from the
and
Murmur.
So how many die are we getting in addition to dots we have, or is it 0?
Well, we're not using the climbing gear anymore, I don't think, because we're doing it kind of differently.
Right.
So I think that you'll get how many dots you have on
1 die for me with 1.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm sorry, just to be clear, because I have no little pips next to prowl, am I rolling 2 and taking the lower of 2?
No, I don't
next
think
to
so.
finesse.
No,
Okay,
when you have no dice, something different happens.
No dice.
No dice, bud.
Yeah, it's
You blew it.
Ain't over.
Yeah, I thought it was if you have a 0 or a negative, you roll 2 d6s and take the lesser. So it's just
okay. That sounds right. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. I think that's right. And then
But then between my die and Troy's die, between our 3 die, we just have to get a success. And then, but Troy, you're going to take stress if I roll a 1 to 3, or if his lowest is a 1 to 3.
I'm already taking stress. Already.
I'm stressed.
Come
I'm
on.
stressed right now. Yeah, let's do it. So 2 dice for Marco, 1 die for our friend the jockey.
Oh no!
How'd you guys do? Did you roll it?
He's too pretty.
I want to say that this feels controlled to me because you're not going out over the water. You're kind of like carefully finessing beneath the train. It feels controlled to me, and I think it's a standard effect. So go ahead and give me those rolls.
So wait, because it's controlled, do we get an extra die?
You don't, but it means that your consequences won't be as bad if it goes bad. Yeah.
Well, that's good because my lowest of 2 was a 1.
Okay.
And my 1 was a 1.
Okay.
Ooh.
So you're taking 2 stress, Pontiac, and then how did your roll go?
Regardless, I take that 2 stress, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
And no,
boy.
so I get no bonus, or do I get negative dice or anything?
No negative dice, nothing
You
like
need to roll
that.
a 6, dude.
But
Yeah.
this needs to work.
Do I take that 3rd
You could
stress?
take 2 more stress to add another die.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean this is big. We got to get in there. I take 2
Let me
more.
read player best practices. Use your stress. It says it right here in the book.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, I'm going under. I got 1 cracked die here. A 5.
A 5.
Oh,
okay.
Wait, no, I used my stress, so I roll 1 more die. Sorry.
Yeah.
Get a, get a 6.
I only have 2 d6s, so I got to roll.
Get a
it.
6.
Come on!
Come on.
Ah, 4.
Okay.
All right, so 5. 5.
Okay. No problem.
Respectable. Respectable.
Respectable. Not bad.
He's really
here's
stressed out.
here's what happens. You guys roll under the locomotive on these like kind of like working like skiffs that you've set up, and as you do, I'm gonna say that. I'm going to say one of the guys following Murmur just notices that the front of the locomotive seems to have like a lot of like indentions in it, like it's blackened by whatever exploded here, but there's like kind of like it's been pummeled like 100 times, and just as you slide under Archibald, you notice that one of them is like in the shape of a handprint.
Yep.
You slide under the train, and now that you're under the train,
What do you mean, yup? You knew that was gonna handprint?
Oh, just like we're sliding under, it's like, oh, that's a handprint.
Now that you're under the train, you suddenly hear like again many voices whispering, and you can kind of hear like wind kind of blowing kind of loudly outside. Everything's a little muted down here, though. It sounds kind of tinny and hollowy because now you're underneath. You're in the guts of the train. We were looking for an ingress, right? From this perspective.
Sort of maintenance door or something.
Yeah. So you see that there is some guts of the locomotive here that if they could be some sort, kind of taken apart or tinkered with perhaps or something. Maybe you could enter the locomotive, or you could kind of keep kind of sliding back toward maybe where the cars kind of meet, because looking backward, Pontiac, you do see light, the little bit of dusky light kind of shining in beyond. So let me know what you want to do.
I have a point in Tinker, if that would mean like the ability to like lock pick my way into a door or whatever. Lock pick is not the right word, but like, use a little something to jimmy my way into a maintenance duct or something.
Do you guys all have do you all have the same kind of equipment, or it's all different for each class?
They all have different. They all have different equipment. Although I think there might be a little bit of overlap.
Sure.
And I also want to say one other thing. I shouldn't have told you what skill, what attribute to use when I mentioned Tinker. I think that there are you can use almost anything that you could think of. In this game, a move that would not be ridiculous is for someone to say, honestly, I want to pull out my blade and start skirmishing with this stuff and just pry it out of the way. Like, that's fine. I mean, there might be other ways. It probably will be a hard sell if you tell me you want to sway the locomotive. But I would hear your argument, like a judge on Law and Order.
The reason I asked about the equipment is because I have tinkering tools and demolition equipment as possible options.
As do I.
What about? Could I take a moment here to study the undercarriage, to like look closer at the mechanical equipment here and see a weakness, something we could exploit?
Absolutely. That's great. So are you doing a study roll? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, it's a study roll.
Great. Yeah, you can do that if you'd like.
Okay. So that's one die. It's one die. I'm not gonna add stress to this. Yeah, I'm not gonna add stress on this one. All right, one die. Give it a shot. Nope. One. God.
Okay. So here's what happens.
No.
Let's see. I should have told you that was again, it seems controlled, right? And it seems you just want a standard effect. You want a little bit of information. So as you kind of like are kind of like looking through the guts of the train and kind of moving things around, like you suddenly realize that you've kind of cut something loose. You've kind of pulled something loose, and then a bunch of parts and some oil kind of squirts down onto your face. And it doesn't burn you or do any damage or give you any harm, but it looks like you've knocked something loose. You studied just a little too hard.
Right. I might have opened up a weak spot here, but not in a good way. Don't get too close.
Yeah.
spitting oil out of his mouth. All right, so yeah, no, jeez.
Pretty. You ever seen anything like this?
See, we move our way back. See if we can fetch ourselves closer to the car itself. We're up between the cars.
I got one. How about this?
Okay.
How about a flashback?
Okay.
I'm going high on stress, man. Well, you know what? It's whatever.
You only have one
getting late in
trauma.
the stream.
Let's get you another trauma, get you out of the game, and have these guys have to solve the rest of it on their own.
And I can just drink beer and watch.
Yeah.
All right. How about I want to use my sly friends. So how about in a flashback, I contacted Salia, my information broker, and from her I got a specific blueprint, for lack of a better term, because the blueprint I actually have on me is the tracks, but like an actual architectural blueprint of this model of train, which like we know because we know what the train was that was left out there. We know we know the model number and all that kind of stuff. So maybe I went to my friend and got all the information about the ingresses and egresses of this train beforehand.
Great. I think that's a too stress because it's a specific train, construction blueprints might be a little tricky. And your information broker has gotten it for you from the Railjacks. She's gotten that for you, and she slid it across the table to you in a scummy bar days ago. So now you are pulling that out of your pocket as you sit here looking at the part in your hand and wondering what you've knocked loose or what you've done.
Why didn't I think of this before? What are you doing? I thought this 8 weeks ago. Oh. So he basically, should have a way. Is there an entrance in between the cars that we could use?
There is absolutely an entrance, and the blueprint makes it very clear how you could, from here, kind of unhook kind of a bottom panel and kind of get up into the locomotive. Or there is, as I said earlier, you could slide back and kind of get up between the cars. It's just a little farther back.
Okay,
Let's do that.
let's do that.
That's the easiest, and you can tell by looking at your blueprints that you have. Here's what I want to tell you. One more thing from your blueprints, because you took a whole flashback. You took a whole too stressed for that. The locomotive, in theory, would still run. Except for the fact that you knocked some parts loose, you have to kind of get them back in and kind of like get them tight again. Probably using something out of your inventory because they've degraded or something out here in the environment. But if you did that, you think that if you could fix it, it would still run. You slide back and you are now looking at like the hitch. It's above you, the hitch where, the first passenger car, not the cargo cars yet, but the first passenger car attaches to the locomotive. And here you are looking up in this weird space. The sky is above you, and the two cars are kind of looming over you, and you see many handprints kind of all up the side of these cars, and these handprints have kind of made kind of shallow indents into the metal of the cars.
Hard pass. Nope. No, thank you.
And the wind blows heavily again. What now, gentlemen?
Do we have any idea which car the Leviathan blood is on, or we've got to get on there and just start looking?
You absolutely know now that you have a blueprint of how these trains work. You know where the cargo would go.
Okay. And is the handprints, do we have to bypass the handprint car to get to the cargo car?
Well, you could continue shimmying under the train. Is that what you're going to continue doing?
Yes.
Okay.
roll there. And
how-
I would like to also say at this point that included in my inventory is a Spirit Bane charm,
Ooh,
That's so awesome.
which is a
juicy.
small arcane trinket that ghosts prefer to avoid. So let's just cut to Pretty Marco Coyle like reaching into his deeply unbuttoned shirt, past a bunch of like Eastern Promises tattoos, and pulling out a just a little sterling silver trinket that his ma gave him.
And the girl ghost that's with us runs away. No.
Yeah.
No, she's back in our vehicle. We're
She's
far
back
enough
in your
away.
vehicle. She is ostensibly possessed or absorbed herself into the vehicle. So be careful with that thing. How are you? So is your plan to kind of like keep kind of like crawling beneath the train on your back till you get back to the cargo car?
Yeah,
I
right?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Keep
great.
shooting.
I think that as you do that, it's like very slow going, and you can continue to hear, and you start to hear like footsteps in the cars above you, in the passenger cars. Like it sounds like the movement of feet above you. And I want to know if how are you approaching? Are you just going as fast as you can? Are you going quietly? What are you doing?
We should try to, when we start to hear those noises, if we weren't going quietly, we start to we give the old hold up.
Yeah, let's go quietly.
Something up there.
Great.
Stealth
Then I
attack.
want a roll from someone. It can be another group action, or everybody could roll separately. But I want people to show me how they are going quietly, or silently, or unobtrusively.
I'll prowl up ahead.
Okay,
Kind of
great.
like see if I can get up there and find a safe route for them to follow along.
Okay. Great. Give me that prowl roll, and I'm going to say that it is starting to get risky because it feels like these presences around you, like you can hear them, so it stands to reason they can hear you.
Right. I got a 5. So that was a risky with a good result, or risky with a standard result. How does that
I
work?
think that's a standard result. You move quietly, but these footsteps like continue to kind of like move overhead, and now you've come to where the train is kind of curling around the tracks back to the cargo cars, and not only are you beneath this train and hearing someone move above your face, like literally up there, you can also like suddenly feel the ocean wind hitting you, and you look over your left, and it is a very very long fall here. So this is kind of a tricky place to be kind of rolling along on your back. And I need you to traverse this somehow. I need you guys to tell me how you're traversing this. And right now, only Pontiac is up there at that kind of choke point, that kind of place where there is kind of a looking out over the ocean. But I need everybody to kind of handle it somehow. That could mean staying back. I don't know.
I mean, I'll try to do a finesse just to stay quiet, to like move very quietly.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
I guess this implies that I'm maybe last in the row.
It sounds like.
And as he goes, I think I'm just like kissing my charm and trying to scoot up.
Great. You know what? I think you're. Don't worry about a roll. You pulling your charm is interesting. So, I think you kind of you kiss your charm, and you kind of move your little cart along the kind of skiff you're on top of, and just after you kiss your charm, it just kind of slides silently for a moment. And how did that finesse roll go, Archibald?
I don't want to talk about it, Jared. Actually,
No?
I'm kidding. I didn't roll it. I just rolled it now, and it was a 6.
Oh hell yeah!
Rolled a natty 6.
You guys kind of like that was too loud. You kind of go shh around that kind of dead man's curve, and now you have moved into an area where you're not under the cars anymore because the cars are barely there. You've moved into the cargo area of the train, and it is an enormous ripped open hulk, and there is an enormous amount of electroplasm bright blue foaming goop that has pulled here underneath the train and in the car that's kind of in front of you, ostensibly where you would be grabbing these pools of electroplasm. It looks like whatever happened was some sort of explosion involving the demon blood. And now you need to tell me how you're getting past this goop that, as you look at it, and by the way, you're still on your back, little arcs of electricity kind of through it.
Oh God. I mean, if they're climbing gear.
God.
I don't think that's silly. It probably will still call for some sort of a roll, but the climbing gear will give you, I think, a bonus die here. Maybe you can use it to get around this stuff somehow.
Yeah, maybe tie it off. One of us goes across, ties it off, and then the rest of us can get that bonus die to go across or something.
I mean, I have climbing gear too, so like
Same.
we could all spend it. I mean, climbing gear. If we're doing prowl, climbing gear is going to get me. I don't know, what would you say, Jared? Like 1 die, because I have 0 die with prowl. So like a climbing gear will get me to a 1.
Yeah, I think that it'll definitely get you to a 1. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that'll be the same for me.
But we
then.
should do a group action so that any of us rolls a 6, we all succeed. But then you just take stress, Troy.
Well, I mean, I have 3 dice to roll, so if you guys crush it, I could end up rolling 4 or maybe even 5. Or if you do badly, and it's not the plus minus die. I forgot. I just take stress.
Right.
How much stress do you have left before you're out of the
4. But you know what? We came here to take some trauma. I've already got 2. What's one more?
Look, you've already got 2 trauma.
right,
I mean,
let's do this.
let's kill these guys. I mean, let's
Yes.
succeed. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Here
We
comes
go.
the group action. Yeah.
instruments out.
So basically, you're using the climbing gear to kind of hook up onto this thing and pull yourself with ropes and like hooks so that you're not kind of just wallowing in this kind of electroplasmic goop. How'd you do? I think Marco already rolled his. How'd it go?
That was a fat natural 1.
Oh,
Okay.
another one. Man, you are causing murmur. So
Yeah.
much stress.
Sorry.
Stressing me out, Marco. Damn you, pretty Marco. You're so
Change
pretty,
only
but
strong
you're
this
stressing me
week. It's Link.
So I take 1 stress for that.
out. I got a 4, so no stress from me.
Okay.
Okay, and here comes your roll, and this roll is going to be a risky roll, still for standard effect. You're just trying to get into a train car here.
I got 5 was my highest.
5 is your highest. In this case, I'm going to give you a little bit of harm. Marco's ridiculous, like kind of floundering. Sorry, I shouldn't have described that in such a emasculating way. Marco kind of.
And,
Yes,
and
you are
dance
elegant.
like floundering.
Yes, his elegant dance like floundering. You had to kind of reach down quickly and grab him, and stop him from like kind of going over into the goop. And you kind of like your hand runs through the electroplasm for a second, and part of your arm, your wrist, and you take an electrostatic burn. I think that's going to be a level 2 harm.
I think you're right too. I don't care for that. Wow. Okay, so now I take 1 -1 d6 to every single one of my rolls.
Not yet, because it's a level 2, so you need to get 2 of those.
2 of those. Okay. thank goodness.
Before you take that. Yeah,
And
that's
you can,
right.
can you
Go
I
ahead.
can try to resist it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
was gonna
could.
say,
Would you
can
like to try to
resist
do
it.
that? That's a
You're
good
almost-
idea.
Let's
You're all-
do it. Would that be resolve or prowess?
It's prowess, my friend.
Okay.
Let me
I have
just say one thing.
Yeah. Say it.
If you resist it, you take 6 stress minus what you roll. So if you happen to roll shitty, you could be out of the game on this resistance.
Oh my God. I invited the Glass Candy
Yes.
guys to my adventure, and before they've gotten the loot, am I about to kill Troy Lavallee?
Yeah, I think you
Oh
might kill
God.
well.
Should I be proud, chat, or should I be ashamed?
I mean, maybe I don't resist it then. Because
Maybe
it's only
not.
1. It's going to keep me in the game. It's too risky at this point with my level of stress. It would just be foolish. Odds are I'm going to have to roll this resistance when this horrible monster comes out and tries to eat us.
What
So I'm
horrible
gonna-
monster? What are you talking about?
I mean,
horrible Cthulian monster.
the horrible hand. I'm going to hold on.
That's right.
All right. A smart move. You take the electrostatic burn. You don't take the penalty for having two level 2 harms yet. You just took the one, and you guys all finally climb up into the big cargo car, which again I said is now open to the air, like ripped open. There's a huge pool of electroplasm, of demon blood. It kind of just pooled in the bottom of it, and you see that most of the canisters have completely exploded. But on the far side of this pool of demon blood are 6 intact canisters. They are, in theory, if someone was particularly athletic, each of you could carry 2.
Oh dear.
But then you'd have to figure out how you're getting back through the little obstacle course you just traversed.
Right.
So,
Or we could just
on
drive
either
the train.
side of the car that we're currently on, is it just yawning expanse into the deep?
No, in fact, on one side it is the very steep kind of like cliff face of the Akaros Deathlands, sloping steeply on one side of you. I guess if you're facing the cargo car right now, it's kind of to your left, and on the other side is the yawning ink black void sea, and the wind howls at you. You look at this almost impossible situation you've gotten yourself into. How many miles from civilization?
All right.
Oh man.
Is there a way that? So how blasted open is this thing? Could I hoist myself up and look out over the top of the train back towards where we came, but from above?
Yeah, you certainly can, and I'm not even going to make you do a roll for that because, as I said, it's blasted open. So you climb kind of up a little bit, and maybe hopping onto like some like pieces of machinery that are sticking out, and you can look out, and the tops of the cars are traversable. They are traversable back to the locomotive. But I will say that one thing you noticed that you didn't notice before because you didn't have the right angle is that there is a charred like body kind of just on top of the train, and it's completely like flash fried in place like a black shadow.
Above which car?
Above the passenger car.
Oh my goodness. I wonder if there's the car itself is like the third rail. You know what I mean? Like we touch it, we're gonna get fried. Or
how
something
how
attacked it.
evil of a game master do you think I am? That's the question.
Is there a point at which before it's like locomotive, coal car, passenger car, and
It was
the car that we're
basically
currently
like
at?
locomotive, passenger car. Then there was kind of like a turn in the tracks around this kind of Devil's Bend, and then you kind of got to the cargo car here because this was primarily a cargo train hauling a whole lot of electroplasm back to Duskfall.
So if you could walk the barrels down the tops of the cars up to Dead Man's Curve, in theory, you could maybe lower them onto stable ground.
You're asking if you could carry the barrels over the tops of the train and then lower them back onto your rail runner? Is that what you're asking?
Or just onto the ground where we not have to be negotiating the train to get it back.
You could put them on this slope to your left, but it is, as I described,
Very steep.
a very steep slope.
Gotcha. All right.
I wonder what would happen with a bunch of round barrels on a steep slope. Let's do something to find out.
I think the only reasonable thing to do is for Marco and I to throw Archibald on top of the train with the frozen shadow, just to see if it's electric. And that's the only way
That
we can make
feels
an
like a
informed decision.
very reasonable action. I'm not going to call for any kind of roll if someone wants to go up there.
All right.
Archibald, take one for the team.
Well, he is a little reckless.
He's reckless.
It's reckless, and I'm unstable.
Yeah.
See if there's any sort of booby trapping up there.
I'll tell you what. I'll go up there, but I'll get 40% of the cut instead of 33%.
Not a bad deal. Because if you die, then Marco and I split it 50-50.
I thought I was being incredibly generous.
Yeah, I'll take those odds. Place your
So-
body on there.
Shake on it. Now, I really wish I had the special ability, Ghost Contract, which comes with the spider, which is when you shake on a deal, you and your partner, human or otherwise, both bear a mark of your oath. If either breaks the contract, they take level 3 harm and are cursed.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Ghost litigators.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool mechanic.
I love it.
So I'll climb up there.
You climb up there, no roll necessary, and soon you are right where you'd have to kind of cross over onto that car with the blackened corpse. Are you doing anything specific or anything like that?
I'm peeing my pants, Jared.
Great. And you're thinking about that sweet extra 7%.
Yeah. Get that extra 7%.
Your boot touches the passenger car roof, and nothing happens. It is not, in fact, electrified. I am not, in fact, the biggest spam evil GM of all time.
Maybe we kill him anyways and take 50-50. Pontiac whispers to Marco.
I just my eyes just shift over and like.
Well, he's waving.
Looking good, old boy.
Good work.
Light on your feet as a newborn calf.
Everybody's having a really good time. So that means I've got to make things awful as the game master. How are you going to get those barrels? They are across a small pond of electroplasm that already horribly disfigured the arm of Pontiac Zoe. So you know that the roofs of the train car are probably a fine way to get it back to your vehicle, but how are you going to get across the train tops? How are you going to get it over there?
The barrels are man. Is there any? Are they just featureless, flat on the top, flat on the sides?
Yeah, they're not gigantic. Like, they're used in these kind of like assembly line kind of like inlet outlet kind of like fixtures all over Duskfall. They're sort of like the size of a large paint can, and they kind of fit like batteries into things to like power them.
Is this where I have the flashback to say that I brought a dolly of some kind?
Yes.
Classic Dolly flashback.
Classic Dolly flashback.
I mean, fuck it. Why not? I mean, that's not something that's explicitly on my equipment sheet, but like,
Well, that's what a flashback's for, right?
it's a loading dot. Yeah.
Blank
Well,
space.
wait. Let me just make sure I've described the scene correctly. So,
Is this something that would corrode the bottom of such a thing?
I mean, the problem here is getting over there and grabbing them, and then because there is all of this electroplasm in the bottom of the car. So I don't think that your issue specifically. Well, I mean, you could solve it any way you want, but I don't think your issue specifically is that you don't have the means to carry it. It's
electrified.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that can neutralize this electromagnetic stuff so that it's stable for us to not burn ourselves on? Is there a role to know if there's a way to sort of mollify it? I don't know.
Is there like a chemical? Is there a chemical reaction it could have if you add water to it? What's the reaction?
That sounds like a role of some sort, gentlemen. What role are you giving me?
Study? I don't have any of this.
I have studied the subject.
I've studied we knew what we were dealing with before we came.
Man, I keep looking at my equipment. I'm just looking for a plank of wood. I don't see anything.
Yeah, I mean, did we know before we went here that we might deal with this sort of substance, or this is just a reaction we weren't?
Well, you knew that the score was a bunch of barrels of it. You just didn't know that the whole thing had exploded, and that's why the train had stopped. You know that your contact had told you that it had been attacked probably by some awful beast out in the Deathlands. But what you found now that you're here is that it looks like, good Lord, this might have been an accident or pure human error. Like, it looks like there's been an enormous explosion while the train was moving. And the consequence of that is that this entire car is filled with this toxic material. So it's time. This is how this game is tough, guys, because, we've got to figure out, there's got to be some technique on your sheet or item or something that will do something. And you got to know that I, as the game master, I'm going to listen to all arguments.
Well, what about one thing? This seems like a cheap thing, but I had spent too stressed. We talked a lot about this. What about do the blueprints point to like a back entrance into these things?
Hey,
that could
check
be
it
from
out. The
around
blueprints.
other side.
Yeah, the blueprints are a great idea. I think that for this, though, I want you to study them. I do want you to study them.
All right, so I'll see if I can.
Or
find
I don't want to call for that. Do you want to do that, or do you want to do something else with the blueprints?
No, yeah, I want to study them specifically for a way in that's from the other side of the spill. So like a back way to those barrels to pull them out the back way. Or do I know for certain that it is just a closed off area with no other entrance?
Let's see. Let's do the roll and let's see what you find out.
Okay. One shot at this. 6.
Hey,
on
nice.
one die, dude.
there you go.
You've been hot tonight.
With a 6, I'm going to give you this. You go over to the apparatus that you climbed up to get on the top of the train, and you realize that there's a lever in it, and you kind of pull it because you're looking at the document, the blueprints.
Yeah, the blueprints.
And then suddenly all of that goop starts to sluice out of a grate in the bottom of the cargo car. They had this has happened before. They deal with spills, and so now the electroplasm starts to drain into the bottom, and soon it has completely drained out, and the way is clear, except that. Yeah, you still hear the whispering, and as the final drop of electroplasm kind of drips down beneath, you realize 2 things. 1, you can't go back under and shimmy under the train because now that's where all that stuff is. And 2, you definitely hear like more movement in the passenger car. Like you've got to move probably quickly. So are we grabbing these barrels? What are we doing?
Come on,
Going
Vice.
to the roof, right?
Make it quick.
Grab it around.
Using pretty Marco Coyle's dolly that he had under the train.
That's right.
With us.
We never established that for sure. There was no flashback. He took no stress.
You're right.
But you are now lifting.
Flashback. A hardware store.
You have a dolly?
Flashback.
Hey,
Coffee
you have
shop
a dog?
earlier that day. I had a breadstick. I didn't want to be hungry. Okay. So you're lifting the barrels up to Archibald, and you guys are kind of carrying them up. 6 barrels. It's still going to be a lot of money for you for a gang your size. It's going to be a great score, and that's when you hear sort of the whispering get louder and louder, and that's when you see that drain in the center of the cargo car. Suddenly, the electroplasm starts to kind of curl back up through it in like little wisps, and suddenly like the electroplasm starts to coalesce in front of you, and soon you are looking at a spectral entity that has managed to form itself in this world by using the electroplasm as sort of like a corpus for itself. It's literally building the body, and that body is made of hundreds of hands and many faces that are kind of constantly like moving their necks around each other and like biting each other, and the occasional leg flails out. Yes, it's kind of crawling up out of the drain in the cargo floor, and it instantly starts to reach toward you with its many hands, and I want to know what you're going to do.
Oh God! We're like we got to protect ourselves and the cargo. Oh,
I'm going to pull out my demolition tools, drop it on the thing, and blow it up. I don't know.
Interesting. Interesting.
Could I blow apart its new corpus with demolition tools?
You could try. Demolition tools sounds like something where you build a bomb, or and then certainly you could do it certainly you could do it quickly though. It does mean putting down the barrels that are in your hands and kind of working on that. The thing is reaching to you, and it has enough arms to reach for all of you at once. As it sprouts heads, its mouth opens, another head comes out of the mouth. You're looking at many different faces and arms and hands What are you doing? I want to know now, Marco
Okay, yeah.
Coyle.
I'll set down, I guess, I'm on top. I set down the barrels and whip out some. My equipment says a scary weapon. A just undefined, generally scary weapon.
Okay.
And I've got my charm out and swinging. Let's say my scary weapon is a set of those I think they're called, it's like a bagnach. It's like they look like a cross between tiger claws and brass knuckles.
Okay,
like
great. I
brass
love where
knuckles,
this is going.
Hooked.
That's how you
Yeah.
separate. That's how you separate pulled pork, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
I'm a pit master, and I had so I think jump down into the car, and I was like, if you're working on something explosive, make it fast, and just square up with the arms.
Are you having a fist fight with this ghost?
I'm going to try to scratch away the hands and hope that my charm does some business also.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to call this a desperate position.
I would say so.
Yeah, I'm going to say that it is. It's going to be, if you are able to, you just want to hold him off for a second. You want to distract him, right? So that's limited effect. But that's good. You don't need a lot of effect here to make this happen, right? You just need like kind of a 4 or 5 here. But if you fail, the consequences are going to be quite harsh. So
I think
let me have.
do I announce my intention to push now or later?
You can announce it now, right before
I
you
think this
roll
is
here.
push time.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Take 2 stress, add a die, and you're just skirmishing with a spectral entity.
All right.
Oh boy.
My God.
That was one of the best GM questions.
I gotta tell you, it's a good thing that Marco's attractive because he rolls like shite.
Wow.
The highest of 3 dice was 3.
Oh no, pretty Marco.
That's so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what Marco happens to Marco. Marco takes, I think, a level 2 harm. Screams in his head. Like he's like fighting something that's mainly made of emotion and soul stuff, and by like touching it and getting in contact with it, it's he's absorbing some of it, and now he is feeling over and over the moment that the locomotive exploded, and in an instant about 25 souls were just snuffed out in a second, and he's just feeling their death scream there, and it's making his heart almost beat out of his chest. So he's taken the psychological harm of screaming in his head, and that could affect things for you going forward. I want to know what the other guys are doing while all of this is happening. Oh wait, he failed completely, so it didn't even slow them down. The thing does that to him and continues to reach for the 2 of you. He hasn't even distracted it. What are you doing?
If I don't have any points in anything, you always roll 2 and take 1 away, or
Take the lower.
But I take the lower rather. But what if you can't push yourself or take a devil's bargain?
You can,
and
yeah,
then
you
get a
can,
die,
and then you get more dice, yeah.
But you still always take
You get
the lower.
a die. You get a die, but it would be a
No.
normal die.
No.
So yeah, I think I do have this now, and thank you, Joe, for knowing the rules. That's always
I think
helpful.
it's the rules, yeah.
But I did do a little reading, and it looks like if you do take that devil's bargain or push yourself, you will have, instead of roll 2, take the lower, you'll just have like a die for pushing yourself, and then if you also took a devil's bargain, 2 die, right?
I see. Okay, or assistance or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm thinking is I want to kind of this isn't my jam, but this is the way Pontiac thinks. I want to survey to this creature to see if 2 things, and maybe I can only do 1. I want to see if there are any like weaknesses or anything that I notice, or maybe and this might even be more important if I have to choose between the two, like its motivations. Is it trying to protect something? Is there something like, I'm wondering if my next move is to see if I could talk to it and try and sway it. But right now I'm trying to find out, what does it want? Is there a way out of this? Does it involve a fight?
I think that's a really cool idea. And you're using survey. Do you need that devil's bargain? Or are you going to push?
He just needs assistance from
Are you going to assist me?
Archibald, and I'm going to use my ability Foresight, which I should have used once before. We're at the end here. I forgot about it. But 2 times per score, you can assist a teammate without paying stress.
Right.
Very cool.
But you must describe how you prepared for this. So I really want to hear Joe's explanation of how he prepared for this.
Well, you see,
we're back in the rail car. We run up against a multi-hanged spectral entity.
Every Wednesday, I do my deep studies into ghostly beings that form a body made of pure electroplasmatic energy.
You've studied ghosts, is what you're telling me. At one of the many academic. You've studied spectrology, one of the many academic subjects you study while you're watching the horses run by.
It's a hobby.
Yeah, all good. Here we go. You get that assistance die, my friend, and you can study and find something out right now.
You take 1 stress if you push?
You take 2.
2? All right, but I could take the devil's bargain and take no stress.
That's right. Do you want that devil's bargain?
Well, look, can I hear what it is?
Yeah, the devil's bargain is not really good right now. In order to get this incredible insight, you're going to have to take some harm. You're going to have to let it touch your mind the way it has touched Marco Coyle. And you can, the thing that Pontiac notices is that it's touched his mind, and you think that might give you some insight.
Okay, and would I be able to resist that if I took it? Try to resist it.
Hey, that sounds fair, right? When you take harm, you're allowed to resist it, right? So,
it could kill me either way.
The devil's bargain is, I get to try to harm you, and you get to try to resist it. I think that's okay. I'll allow that. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So I'll roll 2 die to survey, and my God, I hope I roll a 6. I haven't rolled a single 6 in the past 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that we're all gonna die. I've been running the numbers.
What happened?
I rolled a 3.
Oh my God, no!
Well, get ready to resist.
Is this?
This could be very bad for you. I think I may have killed Troy Lavallee's character. Pontiac! The thing, you let the thing put its hands into your face and into your torso, and instantly you feel the minds, the memories of the spectral entity connect with your own, and you thought, I can get some sort of inspiration out of this. I can find out what it wants. I can find out what it needs. But all you hear is screaming, and all you feel is your body disintegrating. You're going to take 2 harm right now. They're going to both be level 2 harm. But
that'll put me to 3 because
that'll put you to 3 and put you out of the action. So you need to resist that harm.
Dude.
So
you're gonna resist it with your resolve.
Okay, that's 2.
No.
That's
okay,
2 dice.
That's good.
And just walk me through. Take me a walk through how this works. So I have 3 stress left that I can take.
Okay, yeah. So you're taking 6 stress minus the highest die result from the resistance roll.
Yeah.
Roll a 6.
Okay.
What could be simpler?
I don't get to add them together. All right, come on.
No,
I
friend.
got this. This is where you need the 6.
Murmur.
6.
Yeah!
No way.
6 and a 4. 6 and a 4.
God, whatever is in Murmur's past, it's way scarier than whatever this ghost is throwing at him. So the ghost brings the full emotional horror of its death spiral at Murmur, and he just kind of takes it. He just kind of like just steals himself and remembers he's been through way worse, and suddenly the thing just sort of kind of pulls away. But I will remind everybody that no positive results have come yet. Pontiac has learned nothing, and the thing has not even been slowed down by Marco, so it is now reaching at the jockey Gray. What do you
it's so
think?
funny. We have a tendency at the Glass Cannon to start lowering our bar at which we celebrate. So yeah, we started celebrating barely being alive. Like barely
We
living.
survived,
I know.
barely.
Yeah, the mission utterly failed, but we get to play again next week. All right, so I am going to.
I love
what,
failed
man?
missions.
I'm kind of out of options here because the demolition thing, unless you want to, I guess, change what I'm looking at, it just says demolition tools, a sledgehammer and iron spikes, heavy drill, and a crowbar. I don't understand how
that sounds
demolition
like
tools.
That's like if you
yeah,
wanna
well,
whack
it's to
into
set a
something.
charge, yeah. But I'm a very, very friendly game master, so I might say that you also have. I mean, is there anything on your sheet that says you have a bomb on you?
No,
Just
there's
the
no
just
dynamite
the
or
means
anything.
to set the charge. Well,
Yeah.
I'm a very friendly GM, and when I see demolition tools on a sheet, I assume also you have the things to make the bomb. So if you can tell me how you are very quickly making this bomb or making something explode, and roll one of your characteristics, then let's do it.
Okay, how about Tinker?
I think that's a great one.
Okay,
How many-
so I'm gonna
yeah.
do a makeshift ass bomb, last second.
The Molotov cocktail.
Yeah, the Molotov cocktail, and I will.
Let me tell you what this here Tinker roll is all about. I think you want great effect because
Yeah.
you want to kind of
Yes,
blow this thing's electroplasmic corpus to pieces.
in one shot without also killing Pontiac
Yes, and without killing Marco, who's just right there too.
Yep.
or
and I-
myself.
yeah, or yourself. So I think it's definitely desperate, and I think it's so desperate, Joe. But let's have Archibald Gray make this roll. Here
All
we
right.
go.
I'm gonna push myself. This leaves me one stress until I'm down, but I'm gonna get that extra die.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna push myself. I don't think I've got anything else. And actually, between the climbing gear, that and the the blueprints are 0 weight, but whatever. Anyway, here we go. Oh man, come on, Archie! Come on, Archie! Oh, I dropped my die. Here we go. Here we
The
go.
suspense.
Here we go. Come on, come on.
Why does a die always gets dropped when it's suspenseful? Yes, sir. How'd you do?
5.
A
got a
5.
5.
Okay, so it was desperate.
It was desperate.
It was desperate, and you wanted a great effect. I think that what happens is
about
you. Yeah, you're gonna take some harm. Basically, you're like very quickly trying to get this thing together, and you just have to like kind of rush, and you put 2 wires together, and it just explodes in your hand. But the thing is,
Hopefully in a cone.
the creature is reaching into you as that happens, right? It's like it's already pushed past Marco, and it's like reaching into you as that happens. So I think that you need to resist. I think a level 3 harm called explosion in the face, and or backfiring explosion, and yeah, but that you are going to get an effect. I think that both you and the thing have weathered this explosion. So you will get an effect from this, but you need to resist that harm. And to be clear, level 3 harm, if you take it, I think that takes you out of the game, right?
Yeah,
There is level 4.
And if I don't roll a 6, I'm out of the game. Like that's how
Yikes.
stressed I am. I'm at the end.
Oh,
I'm
man.
at the limit here.
The man at the
Would
end of his
this
rope.
Could I argue
Yes, you can argue always.
that this resistance of this explosion could be insight? Because that's what the tinkering was, is my bomb making.
Absolutely.
So could I say that like I could see something a little bit wrong and dodge just at the last second to take a little less damage, or
You don't want to take the level 3 harm. You think it should be less. Let me see.
No. I'm just saying, for my resistance roll, can I use insight as opposed to prowess or resolve? I wouldn't use
interesting.
resolve.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But
You know,
instead of using
insight's more about
prowess-
people. It's more about like
okay.
knowing about people and like protecting yourself from deception. Let me make sure of that.
But
I believe-
Tinker is under insight.
Wait, stop. I'm so sorry, Joe. It's about understanding. The letter of the game says that insight's about understanding, and I think understanding how these things go together, or how to move when something's about to blow up in your face, yes, you may use insight.
All right, awesome. All right, I got 3 die here to get a 6. Got to get a 6 or I'm out.
Yeah.
Gotta get a 6 or I'm out, Lavallee.
Oh boy!
Ross, tell my story.
If I live to do it, yes. I'll not be singing your name on the winds anytime soon. You live to tell your own tale.
It this is amazing. It blows up, but you kind of fall back just right as it does, and it kind of flops toward the thing, and it explodes in the face of the thing's like kind of electrocorpus, and that stuff splatters everywhere. It goes flying everywhere, but suddenly the thing doesn't have a body. You can see various arms made of electroplasm and various halves of faces, and they're all trying to crawl back together. They're trying to crawl back toward each other. That's really good for you guys. What are you doing now? The thing is out of
canonically, you see a piece of that, a blob of that goo in the hand of Marco Coyle, just singeing and crackling. And as he takes it down, you can see that his face is unharmed.
Still pretty.
Damn it, he's pretty.
Haven't done it to me yet, old boy. Let's make the fucking box.
Mechanical question. So both
Yes.
Joe and I resisted. Do we take any harm? And then follow up, I think where we both rolled crits, we clear a stress when you roll a resistance.
I
one
think
stress.
that's true. I think when you roll a 6, you do clear a stress, right?
Yeah,
Is that
but,
for every when you're resisting? So
yeah, just for a resistance. But I did.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure about that. But then I
That's
didn't know
huge,
if we take anything where we succeeded.
no, that's what's cool about like rolling a 6 when you're resisting. Like it means I mean, these guys are supposed to be scoundrels who get away by the skin of their teeth. So you gain a stress back. You lose a stress.
Nice. All right.
And if
Not got
you
two
did that
again.
earlier, I'm sorry, Troy. Yes, absolutely. Please clear one of those stresses.
Huge.
And now tell me how you're getting out of here before this thing reforms itself.
God, if we
Dude, it's
jump,
it's like a comic. We grab these barrels and we're just running across the top of the train. Like, at top speed.
and then we just jump before the explosion.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think that all of that is happening. So why don't you give me a roll that tells me how you're doing that well? Because that doesn't sound easy, running along the top of a train with
you're right.
barrels in your hand and jumping right before an explosion happens. I didn't know there was going to be an explosion, but Troy said so I guess there's going to be one.
Sounds like a classic group finesse roll that I'll have to lead.
Yes.
Just
wait.
I
love it. All right, group finesse it is.
All right,
Pretty Marco is always the weakest link here.
Hey, get ready for that one, boys.
on, Pretty Marco.
Great to look at, and he sucks at everything in regard to this caper.
Glad I cleared that stress.
How'd it go? How'd it go, my friends who are not leading the finesse?
I'll be darned.
There you go.
Golly.
There it is.
Oh,
There.
beautiful.
Bang. No
Dancing
stress.
like the wind over the top of that train.
No
Yeah,
stress.
no stress and a pure success because Ross's 6 counts as
It makes it happen.
And I wonder, Troy, if you roll a 6, I wonder if it's a crit.
It'll be a crit.
I did.
Yeah.
I rolled a 4, but
Okay. Still nothing to worry
not
about.
not as good as Marco.
right.
You
I'm
guys,
just-
You weren't as
Just-
good
just
as
so
Marco.
clear.
At the finesse roll.
to be clear, Marco
ran ahead.
Marco passes all of you.
I lapped
Marco
you.
shows he's still
Woo.
beautiful, and then he's up onto the top. And you guys kind of are like a little bit like your jaw drops kind of as Marco just plows through the ashen corpse on his way across the top of the train. It just like it turns into a
Pulverized.
cloud of pulverized black dust, and soon you are on to your rail runner with like 6 barrels. I said that that you guys are strong enough to carry 6 barrels. So let me know what's happening now. Are you just trying to get away from there as fast as possible? Are you doing something else? There actually wasn't an explosion. There's no reason there would be one. But I can tell you that you now see like hands like starting to reach up over the sides of the train, and like something is now like moving. Like there's like a black kind of window to the front of the locomotion. Something's like kind of like moving against it now. Some kind of like blobby kind of like form. So what are you doing?
We tried to talk to the spirit that's with us to see if she has any advice.
Yeah.
Maybe a combination of that with like arcane implements to see if there's some sort of barrier we could, a supernatural barrier we could leave in our wake to protect us as we try to get away.
Yeah, it sounds like an attune roll to talk to the spirit, but also you can do all kinds of things with other skills in terms of like if you're trying to create some kind of barrier, there's other characteristics you might use. So let me know what you think would do it.
I mean, I can talk to her.
Well, I mean, if it's 2 things, like what if you did an attune roll and I did an assist, but I guess you could just say anything. Well, I would say assist with Tinker in terms of like building a wall, like building some sort of wall. Now, I guess Tinker is more about machines than.
I'm talking about like some sort of supernatural wall. Does anybody have a tune?
No. And just we're in the car. Are we currently in motion and it is like inhibiting our progress?
No, not at all. You just feel that the thing. You could just leave. Yes, you could just leave.
I think while you're doing that, I would like to be pumping the hell out of that thing and getting us the hell out of Dodge.
Okay, great. I want you to give me a roll for that. I want to see how fast you're going. I want to see how that's going. So,
what would that be? Skirmish?
I mean, it's
physical?
just kind of pumping, right?
Yeah.
Like as hard as you can. Great. Give me that.
I'll assist. I'll take a stress and because you need all the help we can get to really get out of there.
Yeah.
That's 5.
That's a 5. So you're going to succeed, but there's a complication. So what I'm going to say is
hold on a second. Troy, did you actually assist?
I did, yeah.
And did you take the extra die?
Did you roll? Yeah, your extra die. Roll your extra die.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jared. I'd like to amend that. It is in fact a 6.
Here's what happens.
Thank you, Daddy.
Here's what happens. Like, both you and Pontiac are just like pumping the rail cart, and you're going really fast because you guys have never put this much energy into it. And as you're doing so, you notice that the train behind you, the charred husk of a train, like is like. Bah, bah, and it starts moving after you, but you're going so fast that you're just like keeping right ahead because the tracks start to twist and break, and you hear like the splintering of metal, and you watch as the part that's hanging out over the sea starts to lean, and then the tracks behind you, like you just have to go just fast enough that you get clear, and you finally get clear as they rip free and the train falls into the ocean.
Oh, bad.
Amazing.
Badass.
Now, this is already the longest episode of Stream of Blood ever. So
We're going live.
Which is fine, which is great. I'm glad it is. But I'm going to now cut to the moment where you are now. I mean, what must you look like? Covered in ash, electroplasmic burns, and you're kind of approaching the city again. Are you going back in the way you came, or are you trying something else?
I'll say we go back in the way we came, and I'm going to say I've got one more click on equipment.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to say documents.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say, so Pretty Marco Coyle had a work order for us to do repairs on the way out. I'm going to say I have documents that sort of amend those repairs and call for a return of this cargo specifically to the company that it belongs to.
Great. So the whole time you guys are going back, Archibald is like filling out this like work order perfectly because he knows, the many things he knows. One is how to properly fill out a 23Z triple B, and you finish
exactly.
the work completed
Yes.
order, and you pull up to the gatehouse where a probably different but remarkably similar Ministry of Preservation agent stares out at you over, and he takes the work order from you, and he looks up and he looks at the three of you.
It was hell, mate. It was hell.
One more day on a job, another day in paradise. What?
Have a drink for me, fellas. Us working men have to stick together.
Too true, old boy. Hey,
Good
look
day,
up old
fellas.
Bill Sykes round at the Blood Red Rose. Tell her pretty Marco Coyle sent you as we're pulling away.
Winks as we pull away.
The Dower
Marco
Ministry. Yeah, the Dower Ministry of Preservation agent, as you're pulling away, like slightly smiles.
We got him.
6 barrels of electroplasm. Oh, gosh, this is going to fetch a pretty penny on the market. It's not the so much money that you thought that you were going to pull by bringing the whole cargo, because most of it exploded.
Right.
But, geez, what the hell? This is a one shot. I never know if we're going to play again. It's 2 coin per barrel. So
Whoa.
12 to split among you. I know that's insane, but who knows
That's
if we'll
insane.
ever... Is it really?
No,
I hadn't gotten.
that rich.
The thing I'm worst about in games are the economic systems.
Yeah.
All right, you're all rich millionaires now, and then if we ever play again, I'll just kind of arbitrarily take that away from you, and you'll have to get it back or something.
If we ever play again, that was really funny.
Well,
Tom.
I can tell you, I would love to play Blades in the Dark again with this
Absolutely.
crew or any crew. I had such a great time, and I do want a final. I know we're over, but I want a final epilogue to each of our characters. I know we don't get to fully play the downtime, but how do you spend your ill-gotten gains? What is your night or day like after you get back from this hell of a job?
Oh boy. Well, I'm going to go right to the track immediately. So I'm going to indulge in my vice of gambling on horses. And I'm afraid that I'm going to take at least 1 coin and blow it on the horses. But I feel like it should be a roll. I feel like I should get a
I
roll
think there should be a fortune
to
roll.
see if I could turn that into another coin or if I just lose
I
it
think
flat
that there
out.
should be a fortune roll. Wow,
Fortune
this
roll, there you go.
This is a lovely, lovely epilogue, because I think that when we found, we didn't set a scene, but I think at the very beginning of the adventure, Archibald was standing at the track watching the horses, and after the adventure, he's standing at the track watching the horses, and he's bet 1 whole coin, and now he gets a fortune roll. But I think Archibald, he's a smart guy who plays the ponies well.
Okay, yeah. He's got contacts that tell him, you know what I mean? Like,
He's also cheating. He's also cheating.
yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And god damn it, fate owes him one. Here we go.
Come on,
Let's
Archie.
That's 2 6s.
Yeah, that's a crit, dude.
I can't
Buying a
believe
new suit. I am buying a new suit.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you made a lot of money on that race.
Damn.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to take away some stress right now.
I think you should. And do Marco or Pontiac want to tell me how they end the adventure?
Yeah, Pontiac goes back to the station where they did the score, because he's looking to relieve some stress by hiring a prostitute, and his pockets are a little more full, so he's hoping to get some upper end action. And as he's scoping out the scene, he sees a little boy, a little street urchin, looking for someone to give him money, and he remembers being a young boy himself, begging on the street. So he takes the money he was going to give the prostitute and gives it to the young boy. Then he walks over to an old ragged prostitute that he knows and says, "Can I get one on credit?"
The answer is no. But I'll tell you something else. The little boy that took your coin closes his hand, and then his form shimmers into the form of a gray-faced little girl with hollow eyes, and then she goes, and she disappears.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd bring her back.
You let her loose in the city.
And at that moment, maybe we see Marco like nursing the wound in his hand where the plasm touched him and where the ghost made contact, and taking the pain away with a swig out of an unlabeled jar, and then,
Moonshine.
and then he just kind of walks up to the boy sex worker who gave him the document in the house of the Blood Red Rose, and just like king, a newly purchased gold ring falls into his hand. It's like, "Hey there, boyo, take the night off, buy yourself something pretty."
Suddenly, he also turns into.
Damn it all! She's everywhere. That girl is taking all my money.
He winks at you and bites the coin, and that is where we are going to end tonight's adventure of Blades in the Dark. What a great crew! You guys were fantastic. Thank you so much to the Glass Cannon Network, to Joe and Troy for being here with us and doing this crossover. Wow, and thank you to Joe for knowing how the rules work. Thank you for Ross for always bringing incredible life to his character. Thank you to Troy for completely failing a roll to mind meld with a ghost, because I found that entertaining, so I got to be entertained.
Awesome.
I did it.
Yeah, you guys were all amazing. I think Blades is a great game. I think everybody should go and buy it. It's by a guy named John Harper. The company is called Evil Hat, and I think you can tell if you watch that it really approaches the entire tabletop role-playing game from almost an opposite side of the design perspective, but in a really cool and interesting way. That's it for tonight. Thanks again so much, you guys. I'm going to say goodbye to my guests, Troy, Joe, and Ross. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, Jared.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah.
Amazing game.
Good
Great
night.
stuff.
Thank you. So that is tonight's special Stream of Blood crossover. Thank you guys for being here. And if anybody has a comment or a question they want to shoot at me, now's the time. I just want to remind you that tomorrow is our ongoing Call of Cthulhu game. The Neptune Society is the name of the series that we run every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific. That's with a rotating cast. We have like Henry Zabrowski from the last podcast on the left, and a lot of other different kind of fun people. Tomorrow we have Zach Reno, who's a fantastic actor and improviser. And tomorrow's going to be an African expedition. It's a Call of Cthulhu game set in the 19th century. Please come check that out. If you like Blades in the Dark, I think you'll like that. It's a little more historical. I want to thank my players again tonight because, when you do a one-shot, sometimes you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to make this adventure. I hope they make characters who will fit perfectly into the adventure, but you don't want to tell them too much about the adventure. And I thought, well, it'll be okay, because in Blades in the Dark, literally any kind of character can try anything. And to their credit, our players did that, and they made it work. So I just want to thank them again. Click the little heart on Twitch to follow us on Twitch. Follow us on our Twitter account and our Instagram account, and join our Facebook group. And I just want to give a shout out to the artists one more time. We are a not-for-profit operation right now. So for this particular game, which has so much incredible atmospheric setting, we really wanted to use some kind of cool artwork. And we just can't hire someone as good as Cedric Pay Ravernay, who did, I think, like our guard, at the gates to the city, Therese Nielsen, Lars Grant West, and Dan Scott. Thank you for creating artwork for other things that we borrowed for one evening to add a little bit of atmosphere to our game. That's it. Guys, we'll see you next time. Oh, wait, here we go. Any plans on getting Mr. Zabrowski back soon? My friend, absolutely. Henry's a good pal of mine. He loves doing the game, and we'll have him back soon. He is a Neptune Society character. He plays Walton Wetherill. Walton Wetherill, who is a kind of a flim-flam P.T. Barnum type who owns a museum of oddities. He was in episodes 2 and 4 of the Neptune Society. We're on 7 tomorrow, I believe, or maybe it's 8. Anyway, we're going to have him back really soon. What I'm trying to do, I'll tell you guys, is I'm trying to have a big meeting of the Neptune Society where we have like 12 of the people that have been on the show all actually attend a meeting of the society, and that would be that week's episode. So I really want Walton for that. I'll let you know when that's happening, because it'll be happening maybe in a month or a month and a half, something like that. Was this a pre-written scenario or one out of the Blades in the Dark book? I don't think there are adventures in the Blades in the Dark book, although they certainly give you enough examples that you could kind of adapt some of the examples in the book. This was suggested by one of the opportunities in the smuggler section. So and then that's what's another great thing about this book is if you go to like a crew sheet, there is a little section where it's like, here are some opportunities or like missions they might go on. And one was literally like a valuable cargo is on a derailed train out in the Deathlands. And that just immediately felt so creepy and weird and exciting to me that I decided to run with it. But as I said, it is so interesting preparing an adventure for this game, because you're not writing any stats. You're just kind of coming up with locations and complications that you could throw at the players. So that's the answer to that. Yeah. Any chance for a future game with the GCN people and LPN people in the same game? What a great idea. I'll just say yes. I mean, if you're asking me, I'd say there is a chance. Absolutely. I would love to do that. So I'll ask them. Was the open-ended nature of this game harder or easier than traditional tabletops? I'll say that, we didn't get into the faction play or the downtime as much as I'd like because we have 2.5 hours. But with a score, a heist or a job that you're pulling, it isn't quite as open-ended as some adventures, right? Like, in theory, you either get the thing you're trying to take or the person gets killed that you're trying to assassinate, and then you have to get out, right, without getting caught or getting in trouble. So I would say Blades in the Dark, in not a negative way, and actually in quite a great way, has really strong structure, but it's not quite as open-ended as, say, a sandbox fantasy game, like a D&D type game where your GM is just letting you kind of run around the world and explore different stuff. The part that becomes really open-ended for Blades in the Dark is when you have that downtime, when you kind of get to decide what turf are we going to take next in the city? How am I going to spend my time between jobs? Am I going to indulge my vice? Am I working on an ongoing project? I mean, the book even has all these really cool and exciting examples of ongoing projects that your crew can undertake between jobs to build yourself new weaponry, new, rooms in your lair. I mean, all kinds of cool things. And that's where I think it becomes extremely open-ended. You can decide which gang you want to move against next. So if we do play this again, and I'd like to, I think we'll try to get a little more of that in there, or maybe even just play that part and see how it plays. Who's playing tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow I have a phenomenal actress and a good friend of mine for a long time, Claire Grant, Clare Grant. You can look up her IMDb. She's been in a ton of horror movies. She's done some tabletop role playing on stream, so she knows what it's all about. And she's just a great friend and a great actress. I also have Andrew Orvidal, who has his own role-playing stream and is a comedian who was the star of the sitcom, one of the stars of the sitcom, Those Who Can't. And he's one of my favorite stand-up comics. And then I have Zach Reno, who is an insanely good improviser and actor. He's reprising his role of the big game hunter, Quincy Faramore. So I'm really happy to get Quincy back because he is an arrogant dick who only serves to cause trouble for the other characters around him. Do you write all of your own scenarios, or do you work off pre-written? I almost always write my scenarios, but with the caveat that if I hear a great hook for a scenario, I do it. And if there's one thing that there's a lot of out there for you to find, it's great hooks or like just seeds of ideas. I mean, I think for Vampire the Masquerade, I started off my campaign with an idea had by a YouTuber named Gentleman Gamer. He was like, you know what would be a good beginning of a vampire chronicle? And I was like, yes, it would. And I'm doing that. He hadn't fleshed out the full adventure. He had given kind of a seed that I could start with. And, oh God, there have been others. There've definitely been others. I mean, just tonight, like I said, I looked at the smuggler page in the book and it said it had the idea there, and all I had to do was fill in the details. So I almost always kind of look around for like a good hook and then build the thing off of that. Okay, great. I think that's it. I think that's our stream for tonight. Thank you, 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 thank you. I love you guys for hanging out and watching and asking questions. Please come back and see us again. And for now, I bid you adieu. I'm going to head back into Dustfall and indulge my vice, which is buying small figurines and painting them to look like soldiers from foreign wars. Good night.